Good evening. It is Tuesday, I think February 8th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is episode 331 of Hanging with Bears. We got an awesome one for you tonight, so appreciate everybody pouring in. Here we go. Joe Gagan, Skillet Bear, KO, good evening, everybody. Woodshot Bear, here first. Cannot believe it. I might be late. Apparently I'm late if Woodshop's on time. Bear for all season, let's go. That's right. Tico, Bra Bear. What's going on, everybody? Good evening, good evening. Benji Bear, good evening. How's everybody doing so far? I hope everyone's having a good week. I know the week's pretty young come Tuesday night, but hey, a lot can happen in 2 days, right? Still have to start it over in an hour. I won't be starting it over in an hour. If you rejoin, that's on you, brother. All right, Sean is in the house. We'll give it a second. Oh, he sent the request, so we're just going to go ahead and get at it. Printer Bear, what's up? Good evening. Go live with Sean. Jim Brickham, good evening. Sean, what's up?
What's going on?
Good evening. Welcome. Welcome back, I should say.
Yeah. It's good to talk to you for the first time.
Yeah, man. I've enjoyed catching some of your streams that you've done and some of the Hang with Bears episodes. I actually I think the first one I saw that you did was with Copper Bear, and I actually went back today and saw that you had done one with Roe originally back in April, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I did catch a little bit of that one, and I actually wrote down some notes of things I wanted to touch on that you guys talked about, and then I left it upstairs. So we're just gonna wing it. We're just gonna shoot from the hip and have a good time anyway.
I love that.
Yeah,
Roe Bear's gonna be coming on my stream too pretty soon.
Oh, awesome! Good deal.
We'll be able to look for that. Like I think in the next month or two. Yeah.
Nice.
Part 2 on my channel. Yeah.
Yeah, Roe Bear's a great dude. He's the first one that had me on back in my first stream with Hang with Bears, and then kind of here I am. So I feel blessed, grateful constantly to be a part of this team, and love having everybody on. So excited for tonight. I know there's a lot of people that are in here excited to see you as well. So hit me, man. What have you been up to since you've been on here last? I know everybody. I know a handful of people follow your streams. Not everybody, so not everybody's hip with what you've been up to. If you want to kind of run with it.
Yeah. I do a couple different streams. I do like a devotional reading stream that I'm going to start doing more regularly. I always kind of do them and then get in the groove and then stop doing them for a couple months. It's called Good News for My Dudes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a separate channel. So I'm going to be doing that more regularly. My main channel, so I used to be Sean V Planet. So everyone kind of maybe used to know me as that. I just switched my name up.
I didn't know what the hell to call you tonight. You had Max Bear, you got Sean V Planet, Sean Cory, Sean. Just call me Sean right now.
My name's Sean Cory. I want to go by that, but there's like 2 other people that pretty much have that name like completely locked in on social medias and stuff. There's actually like a gay black man in Hollywood that has my name. So that was like in sync with Owen because, Owen can't use Owen Smith because there's a Hollywood black man using his thing, so I thought that was kind of funny. But I've just kind of had a nickname every, like, once in a while. Different people in my life have called me Seanathan because it's just like a funny nickname on Sean. Because, like, Jonathan shortens to John, but Sean is kind of a unique, stupid name. So it's kind of funny to make the nickname longer instead of shortening it.
Yeah.
So I kind of just ran with that. I just kind of, like, tested out a few different little options for, like, nicknames or little gimmicky names, but I just figured I'd go with my name. Couldn't go with that, so I went with Seanathan. It was free and available on all the things, so I'm just kind of going with that for now,
See, I figured some people were talk shit on people with two first names, so I figured you were just throwing in a third and really just swinging for the fences.
I have 3 first names, Sean, Scott, Cory. I've kind of in my life, it's kind of been interchangeable, Like growing up in like middle school, there was 2 other Seans in my school, so I was Cory, right? It's like, okay, Cory. So then on my baseball team, there was 2 Corys, so I was Sean, right? So it's like my whole life, I've kind of just gotten
back and forth.
Different people call me different names. I got kind of
hey guy, yeah. That's me.
Hey you.
right. I just respond. It doesn't matter the name. I respond.
If it's not a name, it's me. Yeah, that's my new name. I'm just on all the channels. I reverted every Sean V Planet thing to Seanathan Cory. I'm just trying to change the name over.
Andrew
That's what
J said
made
you got
Sean
more
the
names than
funniest.
P. Diddy.
Yeah.
I think P. Diddy is trying to catch up to Sean, if I'm not mistaken.
His name is Sean as well, Sean
That's
C.
that's also true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you
There's
feel
also
bad for knowing
Jay-Z's
that,
name
but
is
that's all
Sean,
right.
too.
It is. You're right.
Yeah. It's Sean something C. Sean Carter or something.
Probably.
There's a lot of Sean C's out there that are black men, apparently. I don't know. My parents didn't get the memo, I guess, or something. God forgot to add the melanin, I guess.
KO Bear said Sean V. Diddy. Sean V. Diddy is the new Diddy.
Man, I could have gone with that.
You still can. No one's taking it. It's still open.
A rebrand. Yeah.
Right.
Rebrand, yeah.
Dude, that's what they're doing. That's the new hip thing, is just rebranding.
Yeah, like every few months, just to keep people on their toes. Like, is
Right.
that same guy? Or...
Exactly.
But yeah, I do my live streams every Monday night. I do like a live stream where I usually have like a topic or a guest on, and the themes are kind of basically like morality, family, faith. My core tenets are faith, family, faith, loyalty, hope. And that's a whole other story. We can maybe get into that later, what those mean. But I basically just want to like encourage guys to like become better as they witness me on a journey to become better. So it's kind of like my life and me being like, I used to be a piece of crap, and now I'm getting myself straightened out.
Well, see, that's one thing that really resonated with me from your stream with Ro, is just talking about kind of the lack of path that you had been on, and then how you were, as you're going through your walk with God now, sharing step by step with other men who are struggling with these same things. Whether they're steps behind you or right where you're at, or maybe a few steps ahead of you, but could still use guidance in other departments. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Yeah, and I don't have it figured out. I correct myself.
None of us do, and that's the thing, is being able to admit that and being able to correct yourself or be corrected is huge.
Yeah, being humble is so crucial. It's like our society, younger generations have just not been taught to do that. It's a lot of arrogance, a lot of pride, and it's obviously leading to the fall, right?
And so little to be proud of.
Yeah. Well,
they're trying. They're trying. God bless
being
all
proud
hearts.
of being humble, yeah.
That's right. Woodshop says he's only calling you V Diddy from now on. Hilarious.
I will accept it.
KO throws in Shaun of the Woke. Fuck Dawn of the Dead is Shaun of the Woke. Hilarious.
Yeah, Sean, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
You see, I wish I would have done this before my rebrand. I could have got some ideas.
It's never too late to rebrand, brother. It's never too late. You can put out a new booster for it and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just sent in my, just like yesterday, I went and sent a letter to BB. First time in a while I've sent him anything, and I asked to be re-verified. So it's like, as of yesterday, I'm pretty much considering myself like officially Seanathan Bear, So that's why I'm saying, like, man, I wish 2 days.
Yeah, if you sent the letter, then it's locked in. It's locked in for at least, 90 days?
90, yeah.
Hilarious. Nice. So you had a stream last night. You say you do Monday nights?
Yes, yeah.
So you don't have to do like
every once in a while, but I try to be pretty regular about that night.
Yeah, nice. So you don't have to do a full repeat, but do you want to touch on for the people that didn't catch that, kind of what you were touching on last night?
Yeah, last night. So last 3 weeks, I did a little winter break, and then it was like I came back strong. I hit abortion right away.
I saw that. That was awesome.
And then I talked about abortion, and then I talked about suicide, because that's part of my testimony and my story. So it's like, that's another pretty impactful, big, touchy topic to talk about. And then last night, which is kind of a theme I've kind of been touching on and putting in my streams and my topics for a while, is like authority and just obeying God, and like how when you disobey God, things don't go well. And when you obey God, you're going to have battles, you're going to have struggles, but like your life here and now is going to be better, but also your eternity is going to be better. Yeah. And it's kind of also leading me into next week's topic, where I'm talking about this book, The Doctrine of the Lesser Magistrates, which, shout out to Legion of Bears. It's the book that we read in November as part of my recruitment challenge into the Legion of Bears. We read this book, and so last night I talked about authority, like obeying God. Genesis 3, Genesis 4, basically the consequences of trying to seek for yourself instead of just humbling yourself and being obedient to God.
Something we're all guilty of, for sure.
Right. I mean, that's a daily struggle, with everyone, and you can get better. You can have periods of your life where you do it well, but it's just something we all have to fight all the time.
That was another thing that
So
popped
next
out of
week,
your stream with Roe. It's just the like, I want this, I need this, and kind of trying to pull away from that. And it's tough because it's constantly you wake up and just like, what do I need? What do I want out of today? And it's like changing that's crazy. It's tough. But once you do, and you kind of just like, what does God want today? What does God need me to do? Then your outlook changes, your perspective changes, your mentality, everything. I mean, you come out much better than you do chasing your own desires.
Yeah. And that's so. Yeah. Again, last night it was kind of like how to obey God correctly, and kind of the consequences for disobeying Him. And next week it's basically the kind of theme, the topic of this book I'm going to be reviewing and talking about is like how, as a man, when is the right time to disobey? So like you should never be disobeying God, but then there comes a point when like there's people in authority over you in like this hierarchical structure that like you're going to have to stand your ground. You're going to have to disobey. It's called lesser magistrates because like at some point like a lesser magistrate's going to have to stand their ground, and they have a duty to like reject the demands of the higher magistrates. And it's going to be pretty interesting, pretty deep dive.
Nice.
And then I have some good guests. I'm going to have Bear coming on. I have some other guests. I have a couple like preachers that are going to be coming on in the next few months. A couple like conservative Twitch famous, semi-famous online people hopefully are coming on my stream. I figured I'd talk a little bit more about politics this year because like everyone's going to be talking about politics. Like I feel like that temperature on the oven is going to be turned up this year with the, stupid election season coming up and all this trucker stuff and the end of the mandates and just, the crater that's going to be left behind from the madness that was 2 years ago. So I figured I'd talk about like government and politics, but like, what does God have to say about it? Like what is it important, like as a Christian to think about politics, not just the mindless, like truckers and oh, boo AOC. She said something.
Classic red versus blue bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's going to be pretty mindless. It's going to be pretty crazy this year, but hopefully I can talk about it in like a more hopeful way, a more like, what is the Christian response to all this stuff? And like, what's our duty as men to do, not just like complaining about it or talking about the pop culture topics and stuff. It's like, what do we actually, what's the good that we can do in this, like in the government structure, the civil authority, I guess. I'm not saying that right. What's our response to the civil authority? What's our response to authority? What's our role to play? What's our duty? Like, what do we need to be doing? Like obeying or disobeying? And when is it right and just to disobey? And when do we need to just like bite our tongues and like, give up what we want and do what God needs of us?
Well, and that's hugely important because that's another binary that's out there is either I'm not listening to the government, they have no control over me, or I must listen to the government and they have full control over me. And it's like finding that, no, God has control over the situation. The government really doesn't have any control. I mean, there's a structure in place for a reason. Is it abused? Of course it is. Is it not always what's best for the people? Of course. But finding your foundation in God and in His Word and kind of letting that fractally represent your way of living through whatever the situation. I think that's where the main focus lies, and sounds like where you're kind of headed in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there is like the objective law of God, right? And human beings who aren't righteous, who want power for themselves, who want to like whatever, control and dominate others and get for themselves at the expense of others, they're going to do whatever they can to make people believe that law is subjective, and that's why everything is so feelings-based and emotions-based, and it's all, that whole like tyrannical feminine concept that BB talks about, which is like almost the inevitable result of like when righteous people abandon their responsibilities, because like truly righteous people will like form a hierarchy where the top of that pyramid is God. Oh, yeah. And instead now they're trying to like make it almost like an inverted pyramid. And it's all based on like wants and desires and feelings and passions and emotions. And that's tyranny. Like tyranny.
Yeah. And God's at the very bottom if there at all.
Right. And the highest authority is the government. It's right. Like I am the, and they just have this inclination to twist everything to being like subservience to the government. Like your rights come from the government. I think that's kind of like this plague in our society today, that like your rights are like a privilege granted to you by the men that created your government. Right. It's like, no, our rights come from God.
Yeah,
and
of course.
That is where that is authority. And basically men have been given power to kind of like dish that authority out. Yeah. You know, it's, I don't know. I have a whole, pages worked out for next week about that. If you want to hear my 2-hour ramblings on the whole topic next week. But yeah, just that idea of like getting away from this objective standard, like the fact that there is God's law and everything is below that and works its way up to that at the end of the day. And anything that tries to like destroy that chain or get in the way of that chain, like any man that says, no, I'm the highest authority, like those people need to be resisted or rebelled against or overthrown or whatever. I'm not calling for that. I'm just saying that's, people have a duty at that point to do that.
Yeah.
You see that with like communist China. I don't know how much you know about like the Christian rise in China right now, the Christian like fire. There's literally tens, if not hundreds. It's hard to guess. It's hard to get the number and who to trust what the number is, but without a doubt, there's like tens of millions of Christians in China right now, and some put that number at 100 million or even like 150 million, and it's rising. Like there's this revival happening in China.
Amazing.
And I did a whole stream on that too, if you want to go back in my feed and look that up. But basically, the government is trying its hardest to put themselves in between these like Christians and God. So they're trying to put this, the communist state right here.
Of course. That's what the enemy is constantly doing. They're trying to get in between us and God.
But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like impossible. It's like God's going to find a way. The people are going to find a way, if they're truly seeking God, So
well, that's kind of been my belief is like the whole role of religion is, an organized religion, is to get in between us and God and to tell us how we can get to God when God already sent his son to tell us how to get to him.
Exactly.
And it's like they negate that and they're like, no, you got to know the right words. You got to give gravel for our babble. You got to kiss the crucifix. You got to come confess or whatever the rules of your religion. And it's it just takes away from it's a personal relationship with God. And that's what it's always been for me. Not that I've been walking with God my entire life, but I've had trouble going to church or like feeling in place in a church because it makes more of a group activity out of something that's supposed to be very personal. And not saying anything against churches. I know there's some great churches out there that people find community and find hope in, but at the end of the day, your relationship with God is your relationship with God, and anything that gets in between that or anything that you feel like you have to use as a vector to get there is definitely the enemy kind of working its way in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, church attendance is great. You should strive to do it, but that's not it. You know what I mean? That's not your life as a Christian.
Right. Well, and there's people who think that's their ticket for the week to continue living there however they want.
Right. They check the box and call themselves good. They feel good because the worship music's good, and they think like, oh, I obeyed one day, so I'm good. Yeah. But it's more important to be in prayer, in the Word, fasting. There's spiritual disciplines that you need to be doing throughout the week, and church attendance is one of them. But people confuse it as like the only thing. Or church rituals are fine; they're good. If they're helping you and your relationship with God, that's great. But that's not the only thing. And like you said, it's like that inward connection. It is inward prayer. It's inward. It's your heart and God. We don't, have to go to the temple and have the priest communicate for us to God anymore.
Well, and that's what a lot of people forget is that he's inside of us. That you don't have to go somewhere to find him. You don't have to speak to someone to speak to him, to have your people reach out to his people. It's just kind of like you're reaching within. A lot of people are looking outward and not realizing that you've got God inside you through the Spirit or however you want to look at it. And you have the devil inside of you too. We all have that, yin and yang, if you will, that good side and dark side. And whatever you feed is what you're going to get out of it. And I think a lot of people forget that as well. They're just like constantly, whether it's literally feeding themselves poison or watching or listening to poisonous stuff and then wondering why their life sucks. And wondering why they're getting all this shit. not realizing that if they are more careful about what they feed themselves, both physically and spiritually, then that makes a huge difference in itself. But they kind of expect God to do the work, and they're like, I can still treat myself like shit. I can still trash his temple, and then he'll clean it up for me, when that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I feel like a lot of us are guilty of, is thinking that God will fix it. It's like without us having to really put in the work. It's like, all right, well, if I pray hard enough about it, then he'll take care of it. Like, that's part of it. Like you said, like going to church is part of it. But you can't just focus on one of these things and think that that's going to make it all better. Like, you got to be willing to put into it. You got to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to, I mean, like the book of Job, like he continued to take hit after hit after hit. And he stuck with God and was like, you know what, I'm going to keep trusting you. Eventually you're going to get me to where you want me to be. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And it's meant to be a daily struggle. It's not something that once you figure it out, you figured it out and you never got to deal with it again. But at least realizing that is huge. And it makes your walk a little easier to maintain, and you're not constantly tripping and over everything that's in your way. You kind of learn how to navigate through some of this stuff.
Yeah. I like how Paul kind of routinely refers to it as like a marathon. And you have to keep walking. You have to keep running that race, right? Yeah. So no matter how much progress you make, you can't stop. It's a marathon. Like, you have to keep going. Right. The marathon is over when your life is over. You know, you can't just be like, that's good enough. I've done a bunch. Yeah. Look how much progress I've made. I'm good right here. It's like, no, you have to keep going. Wherever
it's constant
you are,
progress.
You still have to go. Yeah, you still have to walk forward.
Yeah.
And I like that idea of like, I see it like on memes and like little video clips and stuff where people are like, you know, I prayed for strength. And instead of God giving me strength, he gave me battles to fight that made me stronger. Yeah. You know, I prayed for wisdom, and like God gave me books to read that would make me
He gave me
stronger.
a math test that I couldn't pass to save my life.
Yeah. But that's like, it's like a, you know, it's a meme, it's a little video. It's like, oh, cool, okay, next, you know, you swipe up and watch the next video or whatever. But that is like very profound wisdom. Like, God's not going to just solve your problems for you, but he will provide you a way. Like, he will provide you the path. He will open the door for you. You're going to have to walk through it.
For sure.
You pray for the right door to open at the right time, and you're still going to have to walk through it, you know?
Yeah.
When
I've caught myself at times like hesitating to ask for strength because I know what it takes to get it. It's not something that's just going to be handed to me. It's like, careful what you ask for, because you're going to be put through some shit in order to earn it. And so, not to say to hesitate to pray for the things that you need, but just know that you need to know that. You know, it's not like he's going to have this hand-wrapped thing for you on your birthday and then you're going to be all better. Like, he's going to make you work for it. And there's going to be times where you're having to work so hard for it that you feel like he's not there, but he always is. And keeping that in mind, even in the toughest times. That was one of the things I had written down in my notes, actually, is blessings from the mistakes we make. I think you had touched on something similar to that. And I think a lot of people get hung up on their mistakes, but stopping to realize that they're learning experiences and taking what you can from them, and whether it's the strength to complete the next task or the know-how to get through something in the future or what have you, finding blessing and even the negative things that happen to us. I've touched on blessing through trauma before, but it's kind of the same thing. Trauma or mistakes, and any kind of negativity that people kind of let pull them down into these dark pits. It's just like going to the gym and working out until you're like, I can't even walk anymore. Like, I can't lift my arms. And it's like, well, in a month, you're going to notice a huge difference. You keep doing this, you keep staying persistent, you keep pushing yourself constantly, then it pays off. But you are inevitably going to go through that time where you can't lift your arms, you can't walk, you know, like you're having to push yourself in order to get better. And if you're not going to, then, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my life, is like, I didn't have God in my life for 27 years, and it was crazy and chaotic and turmoil and trauma and mistakes and all of this. And I look back and it's like, I wouldn't change a second of it, right? I'm so thankful that like I encountered Christ and my life was transformed as a result. But it's like, I can look back at all of that and be like, man, I'm never going to do that again. And it's like, I have the I can feel what evil's like. I can smell the devil, you know, because I was so comfortable there. I
He
was like
smells
in the
awful.
darkness for so long. Oh yeah, it smells like sodomy, you know.
Yeah. Burnt Indian hair wrapped in a diaper.
But when you know the darkness, it's easy to know when you're drifting back into darkness. You know, when you've gone through trauma and you've like overcome it, you come out on the other side. Not only are you not going to be like subject to that same trauma or similar trauma, you're going to like see it coming and be able to like run away from it or overcome it, but then also to like help other people. You can look at other people struggling through things you struggle through and give them that reassurance.
That's where testimony is huge, and I know myself and a lot of people are extremely grateful for what you're doing in that regard as well, because the testimony is gigantic. I mean, we go through these struggles, and when you go through them, it's like, this is the hardest, worst time in my life. I don't know how I could ever survive this. And then you talk to one person or 5 people, or you start realizing other people have not only been through similar situations, but there's even people that have been through your exact same situation. Yeah. And then you're looking at them like, there's no way you've been through what I went through. And they're like, no, I have. I've been through a little worse, and I pushed through it to get to what you see today. And and that's huge. And that's one thing I've been kind of trying to, when I got asked to do this, to be in this position on here, I was looking forward to it. I knew it'd be a great time, it'd be fun, but I didn't see that. I didn't foresee it being so testimonial. But that's become one of my favorite parts about this, is getting testimonies from each and everybody I have on here. And again, like I've said this to other Bears I've had on, when I was in my 20s, I was so far from God that if someone said, hey, when you're in your 30s, you're going to be talking about God on a weekly basis with people you hardly know, I'd have been like, okay, well, you're fucking ridiculous. Like, there's no chance. And now it's just like, that's my favorite part, man. It's just, we have great laughs. There's gravy, there's awesome people in the chat every week. But hearing those stories and those that motivation and that reassurance that it's not over, and there's been people on here that I've had that were going through a bad week when they came on here. I've hosted streams where I had a bad week, but you know what? There's something about this community and just about God in general that just pulls you out of it when you need it the most. And I'm forever grateful for every single person in this chat, you included, and a lot of people that aren't here right now, because that's one thing that makes our community bulletproof, is the fact that we all have each other to lift up in the times where we need it the most. There's zero judgment. When there is judgment, those people quickly kind of phase themselves out of the community, because that's not who we are as a community, and it starts showing itself pretty clearly right away.
Yep. Yeah, that's why fellowship is so important, whether it be in person or this online community or video chats or whatever. There's this awesome book called The Sayings of the Desert Fathers. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
These monks in I want to say 250, 275, basically right as the Roman Empire was about to convert to Christianity, but they were still persecuting Christians. All of these people, these really ascetic, really righteous men of God in Egypt, basically retreated from the cities and into the caves and the deserts, and basically just became monks. The whole idea is they were just super literal about the Bible, following God, constant prayer, living ascetically, just enough food to survive, prayer 20 hours a day, And there's these sayings, because the Romans would find out about these people, go and encounter them and write their stories down or write their quotes down. So it's a great book to read. You're like, whoa, these guys get it, But at the same time, they're missing it. And you can tell in some of the stuff they're reading, it's really good insights and it's really good motivation too. But also they're totally missing fellowship. They're kind of doomer in a sense, not completely, but they're kind of you can tell they're alone. You can tell they're kind of missing something.
They're searching for something.
And it's
I don't want to hate on abundance of prayer, but if you're having to pray 20 hours a day, you're chasing something that you can't find. I would guess. And I don't want to make claims, but that's how it seems to me as an outsider.
When it's they're just constantly talking about all this demonic warfare, they're constantly being attacked. And that makes sense. If you're over the target, right? If you're truly living as Jesus is telling you to live, you're going to be attacked still. Yeah. But you can tell they're almost uniquely attacked, and you can almost tell they don't really have an outlet. They're just talking about it and thinking about it and stewing on it, and Satan is just in their head 24/7 because they don't have this. They don't have a community of believers to be man, I'm going through this problem, or hey, you've gone through this problem, like, can you help me? Or like this kind of like bond, this relationship that gets formed. Just that lack of fellowship, like even these people who are super insightful, like they get it, they're right, their heart is just totally Christian, you know, it's like undeniable. They're fighting off satanic attacks that are probably some of the hardest out there, you know, but they still just like are missing it because they don't have fellowship, they don't have community, you know. And I think that
sounds a lot like a certain tribe that is constantly chasing and being chased, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
But that's, I mean, I think that's, you know, in First John of Patmos, one of my like favorite, you know, I'll always say I think John of Patmos might have been the greatest human to ever live that wasn't named Jesus Christ, you know. And that's why he was the one that Jesus loved the most. And in his writings, you can tell he puts a strong emphasis on fellowship. And he really is like his writings, you know, First John, Second John, Third John, he's writing to a church that's basically doing fellowship wrong. And he's correcting them. He's like, this is what a Christian believes. This is how Christians interact with each other. This is what we need to be doing, like together as a church. It's not me. It's not you. It's not these individuals. It's us. How do we as a church worship God? How do we as a church communicate? How do we as a church form ourselves together, you know? And I just think it's really important, you know, if people like that are writing about the importance of it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's important, you know?
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's crucial. And then the reason I brought all that up is like, you can tell, you know, it's like, you don't even need someone to explain it to you. You know, in your heart, that's the case. Like when you go to a church, even like, you know, I go to some churches and I'm like, okay, these guys are kind of, you know, you can just kind of tell these guys are a little off. They're a little grabbled. You know, you go to some mega church, you're like, yeah, this just feels gross, you know. But then also like if you meet like a handful of the people from that church and you go to lunch and you're laughing and you're relating, you're sharing.
They're there for the right reason, even though they might be in the wrong place. Yeah.
But it's like that community of Christians is so crucial. Even if like the bigger picture, the bigger C church or whatever, the bigger church itself, the bigger, you know, American Christians or whatever is like lost and broken, we aren't, you know, you and your neighbor might not be, you and your family might not be. Like there's still small pockets of the church that get it.
Of course.
And it's important for us to like have community with each other and fellowship with each other. And you can just feel it when that happens.
Well, you need that at the top of the church, at the head of the church, and a lot of times that's missing. And it's like you said, you have these pockets within the church, but if that pocket could be what's leading the rest of the congregation, then I think you'd have a lot more successful. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, not a turnout, but you know what I mean. Like, people are getting more out of it than they should be. When you have someone leading from that position instead of just kind of, like you said, kind of going out to lunch afterwards and be like, all right, like let's revisit what that guy was trying to say because he didn't quite hit it the way we needed him to. You know?
Yeah, what did he miss on that? Yeah.
Right. What did he want to say but he couldn't? Yeah, exactly.
I've had that happen. There was a church here I worked for in Nashville, a big mega church, you know, and they have this separate kind of like separate church for young people. And it's real, you know, it's pretty much like a Christian worship concert for young kids, you know, and then there's a sermon and stuff, but it's like they really focus on like the light shows and the artists and their, you know, the singers that are like on Instagram and they're like wearing like Carhartt stuff that's never
fancy
been
pants. Yeah, never been sweated in, right? Exactly.
Hipsters, you know, the ripped jeans and stuff, you know.
Yeah,
so it's kind of one of those, you know, and like the preacher like would come out. There's a new preacher now, but the one we went to for like the last couple of years, just, you know, like a weak man, you know, he's a family man. You can tell he's like a pretty good father, and he gets it. Like he's theologically smart, theologically sound, and his message would be pretty good. But he'd also like kind of try to be too funny and try to make too much like pop culture jokes and like cry too much. That was my big complaint. Was I would always turn to my girlfriend and be like, "He's crying again."
Again.
It's
Right.
like that again would be the key, and it was like literally, and then the next week. Oh, he's crying again. You know? But like when you kind of take a step back, you're like, dude, this guy also does kind of get it. And he is like giving good advice. Like he would talk about like porn, you know, which is something young people need to hear. He wouldn't shy away from some of those touchy subjects. But it's also like you do kind of at the afterwards be like, okay, besides that little emotional part you had there, it was pretty good.
He's just really committed. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the things he got right in there, but let's also not just like gloss over and forget about, you know, that joke he made about how everyone should be watching Netflix, show. Like, you know, like, let's leave that part out.
Right, exactly.
But it's something like that. Like you and your community can still get stuff out of that if you're having that discernment and you're like having those conversations afterwards, and you're not too scared to be like, yeah, I get this guy's my pastor, so I'm not just gonna like blindly follow him and repeat his nonsense. I'm gonna see what's good and like also like call out what's bad, and in your community, in your little pockets within the church.
Woodshop just said, have you ever hated porn so much that you cry? Hilarious. Well, it makes me start to wonder if he's crying because he's hiding his shame of actual love for porn while he's telling you to hate porn. And I'm not accusing your pastor. Yeah. I'm just saying there are situations where it's like,
oh, he's not my pastor.
Let's see the pastor's phone. And he's like, no, hold on. Delete here. Here's my sermon. Oh, wait, that's not my sermon. Hold on. Delete. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like that. Like, and then I go to now, like my girlfriend is Church of Christ. So we've been going to Church of Christ churches. And I always feel like we've gone to like 3 or 4 now. Every time, like the preaching is just spot on. Like the theology's sound, like everything's great. But like the church structure is a little legalist, So there's like even like something, and then last week we went to this other church in town, Zeal, and it's kind of the same thing we're talking about. It's like the whole crowd is like 20-year-olds. They're all dressed up like they're going to an Instagram photo shoot. Light shows, folk smoking, real loud music,
Fog machines.
The pastor like literally had like a chain on. And this like, $300 haircut, and he's like really trying to be funny. And so my girlfriend like is pretty based, so we're like looking at each other the whole time like, yikes, is he really doing this in the middle of his sermon?
Sure.
So churches like that, it's like I kind of like that they're not like as legalistic and like crazy about their rituals, and it's a little more like loose. And like then you can tell, like, I mean, they're doing something right because they're getting young people to show up to church on Sunday morning.
Right.
Like that's not really something that you see a lot in the American church,
No, Sunday morning is typically a hangover time for most of the youth.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was telling my girlfriend is it's like, yeah, that's like, I'm not going to be a part of this church. It's like I can tell the leadership is pretty weak and it's all like emotion based and it's all about being cool and popular. And they're, even in their sermons, they're talking about like church growth and like numbers for the sake of numbers. But like they're doing something right, And then on the other hand, like these other places I go, I'm like, dude, this preacher gets it. But like church attendance is pretty low and there's not a lot of young people there. There's not a lot of children. So there's like signs that's like, well, the fruit's not really there, even though like the preaching's great. So I just think every church kind of has like it struggles with some aspect of it. The leadership
misses,
yeah. There's like, I mean, no one's doing it perfect, So just kind of at the end of the day, as long as you are, like you said earlier, like as long as you personally are seeking God with all your soul, heart, mind, and strength, at the end of the day, that's what's important. You and your family. And as long as you can find people within that church that are like sharing that struggle and sharing that burden and that story with you and like having that community with you, I think that's important. And
yeah.
You could go to the most graveled church ever as long as you and your people at the end of it, like recognize how graveled it is and you're not wrong. I don't think it really matters if you're like going to it.
Yeah. I mean, you can still get great things out of those churches. You can walk away with great message, even if it was kind of grabbled here and there with other stuff that you don't really agree with, or part of a congregation that you don't really connect with. As long as you're kind of getting what you went there to obtain or to get out of it, then you walk away feeling good about it. Then that's what counts, And then from there, again, it's your personal relationship, and you kind of carry it on as you will. As you will is probably not the best way to word that. Not like an as thou wilt kind of thing, but you know what I mean? Like per your situation, per your walk with God and where the hell you are at the time.
Yeah, I think that's the church, right? We are the church. Like me and you are the church, right? At the end of the day.
Dude, this is church right now. We got 26 people, including you and I.
Right. And like, I just think that's why I don't, and I get in these debates because where I'm at and my friends and my communities, my Bible study, like where I'm at is all Protestants, right? It's all like Baptist and Church of Christ. But like online, I mean, I'm like in fellowship with Orthodox and Catholics, all types of people from all denominations because like what we're talking about. It's like we can get together online and like fellowship and like have debates and conversations, but like at the end of the day, like we're together, we're like talking right now. Like the Bears, how many different denominations of Christians are the Bears? But we come together and we talk about like gravy and interesting stuff.
There's at least 33 different denominations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just got 2 how dare yous, so I'm gonna backtrack on the this is a church. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a pastor. This feels like a church. We are somewhat congregating and talking about Christ, which the Bible says anytime 2 or more people, as you know, meet in his name, that is your church. So
right. Small C church, not big C church.
I had to cover those how dare yous. I was going to let the first how dare you slide by Longbow, but then Plain Room, who I just had on last week, hit me with a Bear church. Yeah.
How dare you, those how dare yous,
Yeah, how double dog those double dog dares.
But, I just think at the end of the day, like, if your heart is in the right place, like what someone said earlier, like what matters is you seeking God. What matters is your heart seeking a personal relationship, a reunion with your Creator. That's all that matters. 100%. And where you go on Sunday, I mean, fine, go be a Catholic, go do the rituals and do the stuff. That's fine. But the other 6 days a week, like, can we just like have fellowship as Christians, like with our hearts totally focused on seeking what's good, true, and beautiful? Like, okay, like I'm not going to go to church with you on Sunday. And yeah, we aren't calling ourselves or branding ourselves the same thing, but like this isn't gang war, It's like
we're all in our walks, We're all walking towards the same place, more or less,
So yeah, I mean, I would say half of my friends online that I call Christians that are like legitimate friends I fellowship with are like Catholics, and I see no problem with that at all. And then in real life, like my Protestant friends in my real life, like in Bible studies, just bash Catholics. They hate Catholics. They're like, Catholics are lost. They're not even Christians. And it's just like, dude, do you even like interact with them? Like, yeah, like you're looking at Catholics like big C church, like the church, and you're seeing like the arguments from the outside made against the Catholic Church, and you're buying into that. But have you ever like fellowship with a Catholic? Have you ever like gone to coffee and like heard him out and like what his life and what his journey's like and his spiritual walk? Like, you're probably going to change your mind.
Same with the whole Muslim spell. It's the same thing. It's like anybody you run into, it's like, oh, Muslims are bad. It's like, have you ever talked to one? Oh no, why would I talk to a Muslim? I just kill him. Like, no. First of all, you wouldn't do that. You would cower because you wouldn't know what to do in that situation. But second of all, if you take 5 minutes to have a conversation, you realize you're not all that different. Like Owen said, I mean, like the whole idea of war has kind of died out now. It's like everyone in the world, doesn't matter what country you're in, they want their kids to be happy. They want them to be raised by their mother. They want their family to be safe, protected, fed, and be able to do fun shit on the weekends. It's I mean, we're all kind of living the same life in different variants, but we all kind of want the same thing out of life, more or less. And it's just, again, the idea of religion is, it's almost a way to try and break us from the unity that we could all have from our different walks with God. There's no, I mean, the Bear community is a perfect example that you can have people from different religions, quote unquote, walking together and conversing and learning from each other, without being like, no, you're wrong, like your religion's wrong. Like we all realize that our religion, quote unquote, whatever you tag yourself with, there are flaws, there are things that people can't stand about it. There's things that you might not even stand about it. I know that there's a lot of problems with Christianity that Christians have, and there's a lot of things about Christianity that have driven Christians out of the church, myself being one, and a lot of people in this chat, I'm sure, are the same thing. And but that's not a reason to give up or to shun out a certain group. It's about having those smaller connections, and then as those build stronger, they start to resonate, and then that's where it kind of grows. But you try and go at a whole group, and you're never going to accomplish anything.
Yep.
I don't want to say
yeah. So also, if you want to go back in my feed, I have a whole my whole thoughts about like Islam and Muslims and how the Christian response to them. But yeah, I mean, the way I view Muslims like are basically they're Christians who have not yet received the Holy Spirit, right? They know the Father. They know the obedience of him. They know Jesus. They know all about Jesus. They're just, and as a Christian, it's like you just understand they're not fully there yet. Does that make them like your enemy that deserves to be slaughtered and killed? No. It means they're a person that you need to help out. It's a person that's seeking God. They're just like their path is like going in the wrong direction. So how do you as a Christian correct that path?
But what if you can get opium off of them? Does that change things?
The what?
If you can get opium from them, does that change the situation?
Steal or buy, yeah.
Right.
But that's how like everyone should be viewed, even like atheists, even people who are like wicked, like people who are just like totally opposed to you.
They're lost.
Like,
they're still God's children.
Right. Like it's your job to lead them back to God, right? Like if you are there, if your walk is great, if you are found, especially someone who has been lost and is now found, you should know too, this person's lost and I can help lead them to being found like I was, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not back at the Father yet. Let me help them get there.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be viewed as my enemy that I need to like never talk to and or harm or threaten or kill. It needs to be viewed as like, this is someone who is lost. They're living in darkness. How do I bring the light to them?
Yeah.
And it almost becomes like a game, a strategy. Like, what's the right words to say? What's the right relationship to build?
Right.
What do I do to make this person change their mind, And everyone's different. There's different personalities and cultures and tribes and races and religions or whatever. Like, there's different strategies you're going to take, but the end goal should be like, if this person is lost, if you're looking at this person and you're like, I really think that if you're going to die, like, it's not going to be good. Your eternity is going to be suffering. It's going to be a disconnection from you and your creator. How then do I find a way to reunite you with your creator?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like, F you, I'm never talking to you, get out of my face, I'm going to kill you. The game should be, how do I spread that truth, that light, that love to you? How do I get you back to the way towards God, your creator?
And
when you're just like, screw them, kill them, don't want anything to do with them,
Yeah. Well, also knowing the difference between leading and like leashing them. Like, you don't want to drag them, like they have to be willing. But you lead by example, if by nothing else, because even that, you have someone who's miserable and as far away from God as they think they can be, and they look up and see that you're not miserable, that you're living a life where you don't let all these things bother you. You don't, like, your whole walk is different, your whole demeanor, the way you carry yourself, and that alone can resonate with somebody to want to approach you and say, hey, there's something about you that I can't wrap my mind around. Like, what is it? And then that's when it opens the door. But I think a lot of people have kind of tried to been dragged into like, you need this, like, or this is your, like, shoving their nose in their sin and like, look what you've done, like, you can't approach it that way or it's just going to chase them off further.
Right.
And I feel like that's what chased a lot of us out of church when we were younger. It's just that whole like like you're sinning, like you're just making you feel bad about what you've done instead of making it clear that these are things we all as humans go through, and there is a way through it, there is a way out of it, there is a way past it, and not so much shaming and where you've been, but providing a view of what's to come, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, definitely. There's we were actually talking about this last week in my Bible study. One of my good friends now, we kind of did some trauma bonding last year at this job. Two Christians, we were kind of iron sharpens iron out there, like going through hell, working for this crazy man. And we had a lot of coworkers that would just come and go. Like, basically my boss's philosophy was just hire someone. If the job is insane and crazy and they're going to quit, but we'll just bring in more bodies. Like, just bring in bodies, they're going to fall out, some will stay, just keep bringing in bodies and they'll fall out. And it's all these just young men looking for a summer job. So me and this guy, Trey, he's been on my live stream before if you want to check that one out. Trey Bonds, last November, I think he was on. And it was just totally two different, like, evangelist strategies, two different disciple strategies totally. So, like, he's this guy, he's like a former Marine, real just brash, real, like, extrovert. And he would just slap me. He'd be like, why are you a degenerate? Get your crap together. Stop believing in God, you dummy. Like, I'm not using the curse words he would use. But it's just like a slap in the face. Like, stop being an idiot. Like, go return to God. Read your Bible. Stop being a degenerate piece of crap. And, you know, most people are going to, like, turn away from that. Like, most people, like, these little, like, kids, these little 20-year-old kids that are, like, godless are like, all right, dude, just stay away from me. Like, stop talking to me.
Right, relax.
But one of them, it worked. Like, one kid actually was like, you know what? Like, it kind of slapped some sense into him. Like, you know what? I've called myself a Christian my whole life. And I just realized, like, I've never even read the Bible. So now this kid, like, because he's getting, like, slapped in the face by someone.
Some people need that.
He needed it. Like, this one kid was exactly the kid that needed to hear that. And so then me on the side, so same job, same place, same kids, I'm more like, I'll build a relationship with you. I'll hear your story out. I'll start turning the conversation into a gospel conversation, you know. I'll start, like, kind of, you know, if we're talking about sports, kind of slowly start transitioning into, like, why it's important to be obedient to God, you know. And, like, that wouldn't work on, like, a kid that, you know, like a kid Hunter who's now reading his Bible because my friend Trey was slapping him in the face with, like, the need for God. That kid probably wouldn't have listened to me if I was, like, taking my time and being patient and gentle and transitioning a conversation intellectually into a gospel conversation. But, like, these other kids over here that wouldn't respond to Trey's tactic, they're now listening to me. They're now having, like, long conversations with me. And, like, now they're kind of being like, that makes a lot of sense. You know, so I think, like, everyone's, like, personality is just different. Like, the end goal is, like, how do we return lost people to their Father? But, like, the tactics used are just going to vary. Like, sometimes people do need to be slapped in the face. And sometimes people need to be, like, intellectually led there. And sometimes people need to have, like, emotions, like compassion and love and emotional, like, bonding lead them there, you know? So it's just kind of like a big chess match of, like, how do you lead this lost person to the light? And I think it's just different strategies, and people are different, and they're going to be led there in different ways. Sometimes they have to just completely do it on their own. Sometimes, like, you can lead them by the hand there. You know, I think it just varies. But the end goal
110%.
Take the lost and bring, you know, have them be found. Take those in the darkness and bring them to the lights in one way. And it's just not going to be a clear-cut rubric, I guess.
Right.
If it was, everyone would be Christian, yeah.
Woodshop just said LeBron is strong, but have you heard? You know who's stronger? Samson. Classic diversion. Awesome.
Until you cut the hair. Until you let a harlot near your hair. Yeah.
Jeez, then it's over.
That's what I tell my girlfriend is a cosmetologist, so she cuts hair, and so she's always trying to cut my hair and cut my beard.
Don't let her. She'll take your strength.
I learned from Samson.
That's
right here in the Bible. Don't let a woman near your hair.
You're testing me, right? If you don't go to
I've got my hair's a little long.
You're not only gay, but you will lose your strength.
Woman, get back! Get away from my hair.
Right.
Put those scissors down. Yeah.
Right. I know what you're gonna do with those, and it's not cut my hair. You're cutting a lot more than my hair. Cutting my Achilles tendon.
Yeah. No thanks. I'm not gay.
Right.
My hair will be long.
Yeah. Woodshop says he cut all his hair off so no woman can ever weaken him. I think that sounds counterproductive, but I'm going to let it slide.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll destroy myself before someone else can destroy me.
Skillet Bear says the strength is in the beard. That is accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently did shave the beard. I was growing it out, and it just got a little too long. And I was trying to, like, shape it up, but I just kind of went too far on one side. So I was like, now I got to just even it out short. But I was liking it a lot.
There's no such thing as too long. It's just about keeping it maintained, because it does. Mine will get, like, bushy out and crazy. I don't want to get
sleep on it, and now it's like.
Oh yeah, you wake up and it's like, it looks like you're in a windstorm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woodshop says that he didn't know you were gay. Wow.
Yeah, I'm on TikTok, man. Don't you have to be gay?
He actually said at the beginning of this that you're his favorite person on TikTok.
Oh, right on. Yeah, shout out. You're
that's probably also because you're going up
my
against a ton of gays on TikTok, so your competition isn't super strong, but you are crushing. Yeah. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I was cracking up at some of your TikToks. The one about with the Rock going on and like about tricking men into looking stupid. I probably watched it like 10 times in a row and just kept laughing harder and harder.
I love those. I was gonna keep doing it. I was kind of debating like, do you just play it out if you do more of those? You know, does it like stop
No,
being
not
funny?
at all. Yeah,
I like
don't do
that
it every
trend
day,
with.
but even once a week is hilarious.
I might.
The polio vaccine one got me too. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I probably
Yeah,
shouldn't have said
basically
the
just
B word
turning
just
memes
now,
into
but you know.
funny content. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I do like that trend. I get stuck on that trend. Like sometimes on TikTok, like COD put me on to like dad jokes. So you just start like, it's just so addicting. Just like listen to all these dad jokes. And some are like really funny, you know. Some are stupid, you know. But the one I like, the little like rabbit hole I go down is the male audience. So that's the one you're referring to. Are these videos? It's like this is for my male audience, and it basically it's just a bunch of videos of dudes like picking up sheets of ice that are just like
Oh
perfectly
yeah,
formed and like
shattering it.
breaking them.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about where he kicks a rock and it just rolls like down a hill, and it's just so like as a man, and I was telling my girlfriend because I'm showing her some of these videos, like as a man you're just like, whoa, you know.
Where is it going? Where are you going?
That's so cool. And like my girlfriend's like, this is so dumb, like why are you watching this, you know? Like go to the next video, go to something funny, or you know what, go look at someone dance or do a funny joke.
Hold on. Let me re-angle the phone. Maybe you're not seeing it properly.
Yeah.
Just making any excuse you can to keep showing it.
So did you not see how that ice broke like that? That's so crazy,
right.
You know? Like just men are just so simply entertained by stuff like that, like natural wonders and stuff, and don't need as much like entertainment and thought put into like their videos. So their entertainment, I guess.
That's right.
See, I got on rabbit holes. I just look at all that.
Yeah.
That stuff, yeah.
Dude, I found a so I like I used to listen to a lot more than I do now, but I used to like Tool a lot. And I found a hilarious pocket of the internet, which is blacks reacting to Tool for the first time.
Yeah.
If you ever have the chance to do that on YouTube, you will laugh really hard. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking do-rags, braids, chains, whatever. Just like, these guys are different. These guys get it. And then by the end, they're just like, this is my new favorite shit.
Yeah.
And then they go right back to listening to fucking 5 Chains or what the fuck ever.
Yeah, but, I haven't seen it with Tool, but I've seen it with like Leonard Skinner and CCR.
And
they start out like,
that's just one
dumb
example.
white stuff, and then they put the headphones on, and they're like, oh man, who kept this from me? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I've never heard about this before.
Yeah, they're hysterical. And I never thought that like I would get a kick out of reaction videos, but oh man, some of them were too funny to pass up.
Yeah, I love those.
Woodshop's been. He said that's one of his favorite pockets. He's been there.
It's funny because black people are real entertaining and reactive like that, but just in general, just seeing someone who's like their niche is something, and then they just find something else that they never would have like found on their own, like thanks to the internet.
Right.
And I just love that. Like they're whoa.
Yeah. What is it? It's like the whole street magic thing.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah. Sometimes the internet can be a great place, you know. It's not all debauchery and degeneracy and heathenism.
Well, and I always say it's a tool like anything else. It's just how you use it. You know, you can use it for good. You can use it for evil. You can use it to relax. You can use it to stress yourself the fuck out. Whatever you desire, you can find it in your little black mirror that you have in your pocket.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone said they went nuts over Sublime. Hilarious.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I feel that way with TikTok. Like TikTok is 80% just horrible, and then 20% is great. Like there's mini sermons on there. There's like Bible studies. People do like those live videos, and it's like Bible studies they'll be doing, or you know. And then there's also live videos of like disgusting, gross people doing gross things. You know, just for the attention or the clicks or whatever. It's mindless stuff, but you can really sift through. And then like Classical Learner Bear, when he was on my stream, was telling me, you know, you can really edit the algorithms. Like when videos pop up, that's just stuff you really don't want. There's like things you can click. Like, I'm not interested in this. I don't want to see stuff like this. And over time, like you just groom like your feed to just be like
it custom tailors it to what you like. Yeah.
And it really is like that. I mean, it's if you're sifting out the nonsense, like it is actually, there's a lot of people crushing on TikTok, you know, Woodshop doing like live feed videos and like people find him. Like I forget the numbers, but he had like tens of thousands, if not like 100,000 people watching him like make a wood bowl, you know?
Well, I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I heard through the grapevine that Woodshop makes his wife watch it from thousands of different accounts to boost his numbers up.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. Why do you think he got that iPad?
That
He's
makes
like,
sense.
we need more devices. We need more accounts, more devices. What's the max amount of accounts per device?
There's a room of phones.
I
Have
mean,
you seen that? I've seen that before. Like the Chinese government has that. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Where it's like a wall of phones, and they like pay people to like do that, like hit like on the same video over
That's
and
what
over.
That's what he's got Blanket Bear doing. I pray for her daily that she gets out of that situation.
Yeah.
And just gets back to making blankets because she's in that room just hitting the screens. It's all right. He means well. He's really just trying to get his wood turning out there, which I don't blame him. It's great stuff.
But that's it, I mean, TikTok. It's like, how do you go viral on TikTok? Like, be a hot girl, dance around, lip sync to some videos, mimic the videos that other people are doing that goes viral. Or you can be like Woodshop Bear and just like crush out some like beautiful wood bowls. Like you're showing time lapses of you making this like magnificent work of art, and then that goes viral. So if you're like, I mean, like you said, like there's so much good that can come out of it. You can also like be led into like some degenerate stuff, led back into some stuff that you might have gotten out of in your life. But yeah, it's just whatever you're seeking, you can find.
Well, and one thing I think that gets him a ton of views is how motivational it is. It's like, look at this giant bigger who's like just doing these bowls out of a block of wood, and it's just like it gets people's minds going. It's like, well, what am I capable of? Like this, it's like me. Like if I when I used to watch the Olympics as a kid, like why I'm a human just like they are. Why can I not do 20 backflips off a 30-foot diving board? Like I don't understand. And it's because you don't
put 5 years to develop a skill. So if you get going now, 5 years from now, you can maybe do that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm aged out of the Olympics. And I don't know if you saw the aerial shot of where the Olympics are now, but it is a dump land.
I didn't see it, but I heard someone say it's like right next to like an old nuclear power plant or something. Like,
yeah, they have the ski ramp, and then they like zoom out, and it's just like it looks like just like dark earth.
It's like Chernobyl or something.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks, China.
He's going to start twerking while he turns soon and win the TikTok algorithm. Jesus. So glad I don't have a TikTok. Yeah, I mean, whatever works.
Yeah, it's like that. It's good and bad. If you really like, that was kind of at first, I'm like on it. I'm like, you know what? Okay, I got to use it. The kids are on it. It's, it's the future. You're like, feeling the inevitable flow of like where attention's going in society, and you're just like on it at first, and you're like, man, this is gross, this is horrible, and it kind of like depressing, demoralizing. But like you said, like if you can just start finding the right people and the right topics and like manipulating that algorithm, like I go on TikTok now and it's like inspiring, it's hilarious, funny. It's a bunch of Christians.
I watched my own Instagram just once I joined the Bear community a few years ago. Watched my Instagram transform. It's like there used to be like you might like this, you might like that, and it's just like all this garbage, all this just worldly bullshit, and it's just like as soon as I started following I started following bears and following like cool like outdoor like off-grid type shit, just anything you start looking more into, it's just like, oh, you like that, like let's give you more of that. And it's just like until you start focusing on stuff like that, I feel like it's going to feed you the garbage, because 99% of people are going to love the garbage. But it's just like when you start tweaking it yourself, and I mean, it's like you can pull up your Instagram next to the next person you run into on the street, their Instagram, and it looks like two totally different worlds. Yeah. And it's crazy to see how that changes, but you can. I mean, you use it for good, use it for bad. It's all what you put in is what you're going to get out.
Yeah. And then that's life too, right? Like, where are you going on Friday night?
It's fractal.
In Nashville, it's like, are you going to Broadway with all the drunks and degenerates and partying and getting drunk and doing stuff, or are you like at home with your friends, like playing board games and like laughing? Are you going to church on Sunday morning, or are you sleeping in and watching football hungover? It really is like what you're choosing to do, the environment you're choosing to put yourself in. And we live in a society and a culture like where you can really choose. It's not just some tribe in some isolated place where you're stuck with the 20 people that you were born into this little confined area, and like you have an assigned role and there's no way out of it. Like we really have I picked up and moved with like no money in my bank account, lived homeless in Nashville and just like figured it out. I chose to leave California and go somewhere better, and it like made it work out. We live in a society and a culture and a time where that's possible. So it's almost like there really is no excuse. Like, I get it, there are circumstances, but it's kind of tough when I hear people in California like complain about how horrible California is. It's like, you could also like be making the most of it. You could also leave.
There's always options. You could be
moving to Utah and making it work. You could just work even bloom where you're planted and make it work. Stop going to sports games. Stop wasting your money on alcohol. Stop putting your time and energy into this. Stop putting your kids in public school and homeschooling them. There's a lot of like things you can do that like remove you and your family away from the bad towards the good. And I think you're a result of that. Like if your life sucks, if you're depressing, if you're demoralized, if you're complaining about everything all the time, it's probably because you're not in a healthy environment. It's probably because you are removed from God in a lot of ways. So what are you going to do about it?
Of course.
Like, are you going to keep complaining about it? Are you just going to keep being demoralized? Are you just going to keep doing that, like that low vibration energy? Or are you going to like get out of it? And again, we live in a time and a place where that's totally possible.
It's never been an easier time to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
And equally to the flip side, there's never been an easier time to get sucked into the shit either.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both right there in your pocket, in your palm at all times, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the discernment comes in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's all around us, but it's also not. It's also not all around us. The bear community is like, zero porn in the bear community, right? But then you go out in the street and it's like everyone else's search history has some porn in it,
Oh yeah.
So what are you choosing to do? Which community are you choosing to be a part of?
Well, and it's on billboards. It's everywhere you look. It's just they're using sex to sell whatever it is. And
but then you start just like not looking at it.
Right, exactly.
You just start being like, I don't need that. Like you train yourself to just be so like, at this point, like I used to be. I mean, my testimony is like I was so addicted to like I was in California just smoking weed all day, every day, drinking like 4 nights a week, smoking cigarettes every 2 hours. Sometimes like I look at people smoking cigarettes and it's just gross. It's just like, man, like I look at people getting drunk. It's just like, dude, that's so dumb,
Yeah.
But 2 years ago,
you don't feel like it's dumb at all, right?
2-3 years ago, it was like I could not go without it. I could not be high. My life would be miserable. I would be having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. Now I look at people who get high like, dude, come on. And it's tough not, my reaction isn't like, hey, dude, come on.
Right.
But in your mind, it's just
what
like,
are you doing?
But it's so easy for me to see people getting drunk. And it's just like, you know what? Like, there's zero temptation for me to join them. If my friend, if I have people in my life that are like, come on, we're going to go partying and drink, it's just like, yeah, no thanks, man. Like, I don't need that.
I know how that ends. And
I'm not even a question. Like, my eyes aren't there. I'm not going to that environment, unless I'm going to that environment on purpose to preach the gospel.
Right. I'm going to use this as an opportunity. Right, exactly.
But it's just like that temptation is there. It's all around. Age group, your environment, TV screens, cell phone screens, billboards. It is everywhere at all times. But if you personally, like if your heart has removed yourself from that, it's easy to just like turn your face, turn your eyes, like swipe up, not go to that, not go downtown, not go there that day or whatever. And really it's that. It's like, is your heart changed?
Yeah.
I forget the exact line, but there's like this awesome C.S. Lewis quote that everyone like quotes and rewrites and stuff. That's like, you can only heal a sick man when a sick man wants to be healed. You can't, and it kind of just applies so universally to like everything. Like you can't just like force someone to get sober. Right? It's not going to work. It might work for a day or for a few months, but like that man's heart has to genuinely, truly choose not to drink anymore. It's like, you can't just keep yelling at him and he can't with his mind and his thoughts say like, I think the phrase he uses like when you're like using your lips to say like, God, cure me, but your heart isn't saying, God, I want to be cured. It's like, but when your heart truly is like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. Please change my heart. It's almost like you're not going to go back ever again.
Right.
You might one time slip up and then it's just not going to happen again after that, You might have
it's all,
a taste of alcohol, but you're never going to have that urge to drink. You're not going to have that necessity in your life to drink if your heart truly changes.
Yeah. Well, and it's all about the intention behind your prayer as well. If you're just praying to get out of a shitty situation for that moment, then you got a lot less likely chance of getting your prayer answered the way that you're hoping, as opposed to praying to get yourself not only out of a situation, but to get into a better mindset to where you don't fall victim to that situation again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like we were saying, like, pray for God to open the right door and to close the wrong doors. It's like if you're walking through the wrong doors and you know it, like ask God to close it for you. You can probably find a way to close it yourself. That might not be the best long-term strategy, but like, God, take away what I don't need. That's something I've been really including in my prayers lately, is really giving thanks for what God has given me, but more importantly, what he's taken away from me.
Removing the things that are slowing you up. Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I think everyone glosses over or doesn't want to admit, but it's like the best thing that God did was take away so many of my habits and my urges, It's like, oh yeah, great. Thanks for giving me stuff. That's great. Like genuinely. But more importantly, like I'm so thankful that like you've taken away all this bad, this evil I was doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to focus on. Like, I really am glad that God has closed the wrong doors for me. I'm not just keep walking into hell,
Oh yeah.
Again. And it's like, yeah, it's great when God opens a door for you. Like, great. That is awesome. That's good. Walk into that door with hope and joy and love in your heart. But also, like, pray that God closes the wrong doors so that you're not walking into the wrong place.
Right. Well, because it can be really easy to confuse those, especially if you're not walking tightly next to God. I mean, you can very easily confuse a door that you're meant to go through with a door that is deceptive and meant for you to pull you away from your path.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's a constant struggle with everyone, right?
Yeah.
You thinking this is the right thing, and then it's not, and then you look back and you're like, man, how did I miss that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. As long as you're willing, as long as you're learning from that and you're recognizing that, and now you're going forward being like, let's not make that same mistake.
You're not repeating. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's keep going forward with hope and optimism and trying to go through the right doors, Yeah, I messed up. And that's why repentance is so crucial. Like, you're going to mess up. Like, repent for it and then turn away from that sin. Like, turn away from what bad that was, and then go forward into something great. And it's going to happen again. Like, we were kind of talking about at the very beginning, like, you're going to keep slipping up. You're going to keep, like, there's going to be times where you just disobey God's commands and what God wants you to do, right? You're going to keep walking the wrong doors. But that second you realize it, humble yourself, repent for it, and then go forward now on a mission to never do that again, and to keep going forward, like, positively, Don't get linger. I mean, that's kind of been a struggle for me the last few years, is like looking back and like feeling so dumb and feeling so foolish for all the bad I did, right? But you can't keep lingering there. That's gonna pause you on that journey. You have to be like,
you're just beating yourself up at that point. And I mean, what good are you beating up, whether it's someone else beating you up or you're beating yourself up? I mean, it's just weakening your resolve.
That's a good point. Yeah, you're not gonna make progress. If you're sitting there lingering in what happened in the past, what was yesterday, you're not gonna be going forward into tomorrow, making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened. Repent. Humble yourself, learn your lesson, but move on, go forward. Like, there is a tomorrow that you need to get ready for. You can't keep focusing all your energy on what happened yesterday. And
if you stay stuck there, you'll never show up to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, it's not like you're going to die today because of that, but you're never going to get to that next chapter, that next step, that next wherever you're supposed to be.
Yeah. I love the book of Joshua. Like the opening of Joshua is like, okay, like basically God is telling Joshua, like, Moses has died, get up and go, right? Yeah. It's not like, okay, let's spend some time mourning Moses.
You take the torch and you keep on going the same speed, if not faster, and stronger and harder than he was, right?
And it really is God telling Joshua, like, stop looking at yesterday, go forward. Like, you're going into Israel. You're leading these people now. Go. Yeah. You go forward. Stop looking back at what Moses did. Stop thinking about it. Don't linger on it. Don't be too sad about it. You go get moving now. I have a mission for you. And I love that message. It's really good for everyone to know and understand.
Yeah. Well, and replacing that morning and that looking back and staying with your view in the rear view, but replacing that with being grateful for what happened to get you to that point, or to get you all or whoever
Yeah.
you're talking about to that point. Being grateful for that and the knowledge that you pulled from it to be able to move forward. 'Cause I mean that otherwise, yeah, you're just staying hung up and you're never gonna get any further than that spot right there. And you may even start to fall back to taking steps backwards from where Moses had gotten. But I mean, gratefulness is huge, and the path, and that's one thing that I think we've all kind of harped on a lot. It's just really staying grateful for the things that we have and the experiences that we've been through, and especially being grateful for what we thought were shit times of our lives, because look what it's gotten us. You know, like it got us a lot of heartache, it got us trouble in the time, but looking back, I wouldn't give up those times, or I wouldn't be who I am today. Neither would you, and neither would Wobbly, KO, Bear, Woodshop, any of these people, you know.
Yeah. And quick shout out to Wobbly for my the logo you used for the promo for me today. She actually
was that from Wobbly? Nice. Yeah. Very cool.
That's dope. I use it on some of my pages sometimes. Yeah, so shout
awesome.
out to Wobbly.
Yeah, Wobbly's great. There's currently a bear mission in the works trying to get her out in New Zealand, but I think it's going to involve a bear ship, which we are still trying to get off the ground.
Yeah, mission number one.
She refuses to go down in the tunnels, so she got to get her up in the air.
The summer gates are open. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
But Bear says going forward requires learning from what you've conquered. Exactly. Wobbly Bear says it's going to happen. Every time KO smiles, a demon is banished to Reddit. Hilarious.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can keep talking about this forever, but I did want to ask you, I know another thing I picked up off of your stream with Ro is you kind of said, I don't remember exactly what job you were working at the time, but talking about how you really just wanted to kind of start pulling different trades and learning how to do the things that you're going to need to know how to do for yourself in the long run. What have you been doing recently? Are you still the same job you've been at for a while, or are you kind of been doing anything new?
No, yeah. So yeah, that was exactly what I was doing. I worked 6 months for like a hardscape, kind of hardscapes construction, building like retaining walls and patios and stuff like that. Kind of like low end masonry. You know, it wasn't anything like big, but it was just kind of like.
But it wasn't free. It wasn't free masonry.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it was expensive masonry. Yeah,
as long as you're getting paid, you're on the right path.
Excruciatingly painful masonry. Did that all last summer, and then I got a job doing more like landscape construction. And we worked at San Diego. Nashville is building a professional soccer stadium. And so we were doing all like the landscape construction around it, doing like irrigation, earth moving, planting stuff, kind of doing some wall building and stuff like that. And then I got a job over the winter doing like just basic landscaping with not really like a bear adjacent who is on the Bear Target Times app. He reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm in Nashville. Do you want to work for me? And it really is just like leaf blowing and like, weed whacking and lawn mowing and stuff like that. But now I'm going to kind of try to move into more like construction, I think. So I'm going to like looking for a job right now, more like actual construction, because that just like really wasn't fulfilling. And it was, it took me like a month to learn all of the skills.
Yeah.
And then it just got a little repetitive after that. It's just like the next house did the same thing. The next house did the same thing. So I kind of have done a really good job of like acquiring these different skills. And I'm going to just kind of keep that going. I want to get into like tree working, woodworking, and then I want to kind of work for like a nursery or a farm and really learn like the ins and outs of like growing and planting, and or construction. So I want to get more familiar with like machines. So using like skid steers and mini excavators, but like I want to start using more like bulldozers and bigger machinery and stuff, chainsaws.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm looking for a job now. In the meantime, I do like DoorDash driving, and I might get a job doing like pizza deliveries, just because like jobs like that are paying a lot right now in Nashville because they're having trouble hiring. So there's a lot of money in like really stupid jobs. Like,
So, moment of truth, when you're door dashing, do you ever snag some fries for yourself while you're driving around? You ever just like stick your hand in the bag?
Past, but not in like
you dirty son of a bitch. No, you
when
did
I was in my fallen state, I used to. The one that was real sneaky that I did, so this was before I was a Christian. I worked for Postmates in San Diego, like 2015-ish era, okay. 2015, 2017. And DoorDash is different because everything's pretty much processed, paid for. Now, too, like you get the bags and they're sealed. So there's like, even if you wanted to be like that, you couldn't. But Postmates, you would like, originally you'd go into the restaurant and place the order. And you have like a credit card. So like someone would say like, go into this sushi place and order this, this, and this. You know, and then this should kind of be what the price is, and then pay with the credit card, the company credit card. You know, pick it up and go. But what you could do is like you order this, 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 and then you order this for yourself.
Right.
So now like you're ordering an extra roll of sushi, paying with the card and being like, ooh, oh yeah, it's like it's close-ish to that.
I guess they overcharged you. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
Or you just take for yourself. That was like the real shady thing you could do. But yeah, ever since I've been saved, you know, I'm just on a mission not to like do wrong, even when no one's looking, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and that's the biggest test is when no one's looking. What you do behind closed doors or when no one's on your shoulder, you know. That's the real test is are you going to cheat yourself or are you going to hold true? And that's tough in a lot of times because, I mean, there's situations where in the present moment it would benefit the hell out of you to just take that shortcut or cut that corner or whatever the sin may be. But again, working on patience and resilience and perseverance, that's all stuff that's important, and keeping yourself from cutting those corners definitely pay off in the long run. Yeah. God's always looking exactly KO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was going to say is like, you might get away with it. You know, somebody might not see you or catch you, but like God is, you know, God is watching. And like, that is, I mean, at Judgment Day, is that going to be worth it? You know, that handful of fries you got that one Friday night, it was great in that moment and no one knew it. You know, you got away with it or whatever. But on Judgment Day, when that replay of your life is going through, is that going to be something you want added to the list, you know?
Right, exactly.
Is it going to be worth it in the long run?
Yeah.
And that's just everything. The fries are a kind of silly thing. Like, even what are the bigger things? Are you stealing from your boss, like, a lot of money? Yeah, you might get away with it. Yeah, it might make your life a lot easier, but, I mean, how many people are you harming that you're not even aware of, you know? Maybe you're aware of it and don't care, but...
Or it could come back around and bite you in the long run or down the road, you know? I had a dude I played lacrosse with in high school, and he found out it was like on a game day, he like didn't show up, and he was like one of our starters, and we were wondering where he's at. Well, it turned out his mom got their house raided that morning, and she is a bank teller and was pocketing $10,000 a week. And I mean,
yeah. Oh no.
You hear me still?
Yeah.
So I mean, had pocketed millions of dollars and had bought her kids cars, had paid off their house, and like all these things, and thought she was gravy and was getting away with it, and it came back to bite her in the ass. And I'm pretty sure, I think she's out of prison now, but she went away for a while, and they lost their house, they lost their cars, they lost a lot of their assets that she couldn't prove that she paid for with legitimate money, and Longbow Bear said nothing stays hidden. I mean, it all comes out eventually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just,
important to be right, do right. No.
Exactly.
It's better for you in the here and now. It might not seem that way. You know, you want to call it karma or whatever. Like, there's blowback to your actions here and now, but also like in the bigger picture of your soul. Like, your soul decays and distances itself from God the more you're in rebellion against his right ways, you know? You're not doing the right thing for the sake of whatever earthly temporary gain you might get.
Yeah.
It's the thing I'm always trying to reinforce with my girlfriend. She has some habits, you know, that I'm trying to break. And some of it is that. Some of it is like, well, I want to do this. You know, let's do this because it's fun, or let's do this, you know, and it's kind of like giggly, like, haha, no one's really getting harmed. Okay. But like, is it the right thing? like take a step back. Like, yeah, it might benefit you in the short run. Yeah, it might be the easy route, but like, is it truly the right thing to do? You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
if you're leaving a job, like, and it's like, man, I hate this job. It sucks. I have another job lined up right away. Like I had this experience where like, this job I have right now, the guy was like, I want to hire you immediately. Like, how fast can you start? And it's like, well, 2 weeks from now, because like I'm gonna have to put in a 2 week notice, because like this job I have now, like they took a risk hiring me. They've been good to me. It's a good job. Like, yeah, you're a better opportunity. You're about to pay me more money. You want me to start right away. It's gonna be good for me to I can go work for you tomorrow, start making more money, get a head start on this new job I have. Or I could do the right thing and not screw over these people that I'm working for now, So sometimes you have to like really just do the right thing, even if it's going to cost you a little bit extra money. It's going to be a little more inconvenient. It's like, yeah, you're about to leave this job and never see them again. So it's like easy to just be like, screw them, whatever. But like, it really is important to like put in that 2 weeks notice, because like that really gives them an opportunity to replace you. And it's just like, you have to just do
well,
the
that's
right
repaying the opportunity they gave you in the first place.
Yeah. And it's just like, is it the right thing to do?
Right.
I mean, that's more important than making, a couple extra bucks an hour for those 2 weeks or getting a head start on your new job or whatever, I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. Something you said a minute ago reminded me that the inner child stream that Owen did a couple weeks ago resonated with me, and I know a few bears that I've talked to really resonated a lot. And it's really just, I mean, especially for those of us who have kids, it's like the stuff you wouldn't let your kids do. Like, why are you doing it to yourself, or why are we thinking that it's okay for us to do these things to ourselves or for ourselves in a way, and not really seeing the consequences until you look at it like you're doing it to a kid. And in the eyes of God, we're all His children. So it's like you can be 100 years old and still be a child of God, and treating yourself as such is key. And that goes for all things, whether it's substances or just the way you present yourself, the way that you treat situations, just really trying to protect yourself and the image that you portray and that you put off to other people, because you are a reflection of God. You are a reflection of Christ, especially if that's what you're claiming to be. The last thing you want to do is tarnish that,
Yeah.
But that whole inner child thing really resonated with me a lot, and it's just it's made it to where I've even been reevaluating smaller things on myself. It's just like with different food. I mean, or just like cutting out tea or like soda. I mean, I've had to stop drinking soda a while ago, but every once in a while I have one, and now it's just like I'm just like, what am I like? I'm not going to give this to my kids. I'm not going to give it to myself. And constantly trying to view yourself that way. I think a lot of people have this tarnished self-image to where they just don't give a fuck about themselves, and it's like they're just kind of trying to numb it at that point. And giving yourself that second chance and treating yourself like you would a young child who has no grasp of what the consequences or anything like that, is a surefire way to really turn it around. And it's not going to happen instantly, but when you continue to reevaluate in that sense, it really kind of puts things in perspective that you don't really realize as an adult who's struggling in a world full of deception.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough, right? Like what you're saying about like, oh yeah, daddy likes to drink whiskey. It's not for you, son.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's probably not for you either,
Right, exactly. Well, then why is it okay for you? Right.
Because, but,
Yeah.
it's time to start rethinking some of those excuses,
Right.
Yeah, it's really, really crucial. I mean, BB the last 3 weeks has just been on super mode.
Yeah, he's been on fire.
Crushing. The response from the Bears has just been so great. You can just tell like he's elevating everyone, and yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. I just finished yesterday the Seek and Destroy episode about the truckers and the Sikhs. and all that. And
one of the greatest titles of any of the streams. Yeah.
oh yeah, phenomenal. And he ended up going into the whole crucifix thing and that whole conversation, and that's something he's touched on before, but he just really drove it home. Not that driving the nail is really a good metaphor for that conversation, but it's just he made it clear as day, and it's just like we've all been programmed to think it's okay, and like when he showed how they killed criminals 200 years before that with a spike, it's just like this could literally be what you're worshiping, and it's like putting those images side by side and seeing it that way. It's just like if that doesn't open your eyes, then I don't know what to tell you, but just finished PsyOps 101 yesterday. Yeah, I was watching that one this morning, actually. Another good one.
And it is like it is important to understand that, like, why Jesus died, how he died, how painful it was, like how much he endured. Like, I get those points, but like what BB is talking about is that excess. So now you're starting to worship it. Now you're starting to idolize it. Now you're starting to focus your attention on this big, giant, bloody man on a cross, like right behind the pastor every week, make sure that you realize it. Like, I get the importance of talking about it. That's why it's there. That's why that story is told to us in the Bible. Like, we need to understand that, like, the pain that he's willing to go through for us, the pain that we deserve, the punishment we deserve has been taken for us, right, in our place. But like, then like, the excess is not the correct solution. Lingering on that to turning that into your idol is clearly not what we need to be doing, And I think BB.
Well, and then using that idol to say you can continue watching porn, you can continue poisoning your body on a nightly basis, you can continue whacking yourself into oblivion, you can steal, kill, what the fuck ever, because he did this idol that we have hanging up on this cross to remind you that your sins are okay. Continue on doing whatever the hell you want because he already took care of it. Well, that's not it at all. And it's just a classic inversion of what Jesus was trying to tell us and what that whole happening of his crucifixion really meant. And it's just it's crazy as adults kind of having this spelled out to us this way, and kind of seeing that the way we learned it in church growing up, these churches that pushed a lot of us away from Christianity for years, was completely inverted from what God had really intended in the first place. And it's nuts to see how a lot of us have been pushed away from church in that degree, and then the events that kind of make you realize who God really is. And a lot of times it's traumatic. A lot of times people are face down at the bottom of the pit. You're just trampled, feeling like there's nowhere else to go. And it's like that's when you realize that God is your only way out. And it's not like, oh, he's the only thing, like he's my last resort. Like, no, like he's the only thing you need. Like all these other things that you can waste your time and energy on, trying to fulfill this void that you're never going to fill without God. And not only realizing that he's filling a void for you, but he is everything you need. He is the Alpha and Omega, as the Bible says. It's just coming to that realization. I think I don't know. It takes a lot of us being through those traumatic experiences to realizing that because I think a lot of us are so headstrong and this is another thing I picked up from your talk with Ro is that, okay, well, I thought I had life all figured out. I was following my own path. I was enjoying myself. I thought that I had it figured out, and then only to fall flat on my face and realize that I was nowhere close. And that's huge. And just kind of coming to that realization has been something big for myself and something that I wish I could have told myself or someone would have told me earlier on. But then again, it's like the whole leading versus leashing. It's like you can't be pulled to it. You kind of have to be shown. And sometimes the only way to really be shown is to see it from the very bottom, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. As someone who was completely not raised in the church, I was just totally ignorant of everything in Christianity, right? Oh, that's stupid. That's silly, Then all of a sudden, encounter Christ, everything's transformed, reading the Bible for the first time, and having like a childlike innocence. Like I didn't have everything like dogmatically explained and pumped, like bashed into my head, like believe this, believe this, believe this, believe this, you know? And just having that like fresh perspective, fresh eyes to see was so, I mean, profound. I don't know the right word to use, but it was just so.
And the irony of growing up without God almost being better in your finding God than people that had to refine God because they were given a poor path to find Him in the first place.
Right. Because I mean, that's the struggle I have with like people, because, you know, now I'm in Tennessee where it's almost the opposite. Like everyone I encounter is like, I was born and raised going to church every Sunday. And some of the testimonies are like, I was born and raised going to church, and, you know, I turned basically the age where like everyone gets sexually active, and I just did that and stopped going to church, and now I'm back, you know. And my story is like, I was just like, I didn't even know what fellowship meant. Like I didn't know what these terms even meant. I had no idea what it was. And just reading the Bible for the first time, like coming to, you know, Matthew like 24, 25, you're like, whoa, like this guy did that. It was that brutal. It was that crazy, you know? And you're understanding it for what it is, because you have like a childlike innocence to it, like to it and for it. It's not just like, like you said, like beaten into you, reminded every single day of this is what happened, remember it, look at it, feel it, know it, you know? But truly like coming to, and not just the crucifixion, but like every aspect of the Bible, like with like just a childlike innocence and like a sense of like amazement and wonderment and like a humbleness of like, what can I learn from this? Yeah, I've read Genesis now 3 times, but like, is there something I can learn? Is there something I'm missing?
Always.
What about that? Like, what if like, like this other denomination thinks differently about this aspect, but let me hear them out, you know? Let me see what maybe they get right or get wrong about this. Like that honest, genuine idea in your heart of like seeking the truth, and like humbling yourself and like being willing to be proven wrong, I think is so crucial, especially in God's word. Like you can't get stuck in this dogmatic thing that you've heard repetitively your whole life, or maybe even just yourself. Like you found God at a young age and you just have like never really changed your perspective on the Bible and what it is. And that could be leading you astray. Like you could be missing stuff. Like
well, that was like one thing Owen said recently, is that we all have the Word of God written in our hearts from the time we're born, and that kind of helps us with the whole conversation of, well, how do you know which book's the right book, or how do you know which religion's the right religion? And I think with that Word of God written in our hearts, or written in our being, in our soul, that it helps us to see through that stuff. And when you really have the right intention of reading your scripture, whatever scripture you're reading, you're able to see the way it reflects the Word of God within you. And you can kind of see through the manipulation that may have happened with translations or with different grabbles of different versions or what have you. And you're able to kind of see through that. And that's kind of something that's been tough to explain to people, as far as like which is the right Bible to read, or what's the right denomination, or what have you. And it's like, again, it's a personal thing between you and God, and find what works for you, but have that open heart and that open mind for God to interpret it for you, instead of using your mind to try and analyze it the way you've been taught to analyze it. And I think that's where a lot of the mix-up comes in, is trying to use what I don't know how to word this properly, but use the way we've been taught to think to try and analyze it. I think it confuses it even more. I think when you have that open mind and that intention of God, speak to me the way that this is meant to be spoken to me, then I think that's when you really start getting these messages. And like you said, you can read a passage or a book for the 100th time and get something new out of it, because maybe you weren't reading it with the proper intention, or your focus was directed on a different part of that book, or on a different subject, or what have you, or just the situation you were currently living in kind of related differently to that story. Revelation.
I think your mind doesn't lead you to God, right? Your mind doesn't spiritually connect you back to the Father, but your mind can help your heart do that, which is what needs, your soul needs to connect with God. Your brain isn't going to do that, but your brain's going to help you on that journey, right? It's like a tool help you. And I think someone said it kind of similarly, like, if you're seeking, God will provide, right? Like, if your heart truly is seeking God and you're reading one translation of the Bible that's just totally garbled and nonsensical, like, you're seeking, you're truly submitting to God, you're truly, like, repentant and forgiving people, you're being obedient to God, your faith is in Jesus, like, the Spirit's working in and through you, and you're sitting here reading the wrong translation, God is going to correct that. Like, the Spirit will provide
110%
to see through it. So, like, this whole debate, like, I get in these, conversations of, like, King James only, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of intellectual smart arguments. At the end of the day, if you're reading, like, the NIV, which I've found to be, like, pretty garbled and, like, manipulative at times, you're still, like you said, like, going to plug into the word that's written on your heart. That mind is going to help your heart truly find its way back to its source, right?
Yeah.
And that's what matters. Like, if your heart is in the right place, you're going to be provided the right path at the right time. Like, if you're willing to walk, God will give you the path to walk,
Yeah.
And I think we get too caught up in these, like, intellectual thought arguments, right? About, is that the right terminology? Is that the right phrasing to use? Like, oh, he said saved instead of provided, or he said this instead of that in this one translation. It's like, okay, but, like, the context is what matters. And at the end of the day, like, is your heart truly seeking God, I mean, Abraham didn't have the Bible. Abraham didn't have the words of Jesus, yet he was led to God, right?
Jesus didn't have the words of Jesus.
Right.
Like, come on.
But it's like the faith, the heart was in the right place. Like, Abraham obeyed. He submitted. His heart was truly seeking God. He didn't need, like, some theological argument or understanding about this concept of religion in order to seek and find God, right? All that matters is that your heart's in the right place and you're willing to walk forward towards him. And it'll be provided. Seek and you shall find, right? Seek and God will provide for you.
Well, that's like Owen saying his favorite version is the kids' Bible. And it's like, does anyone want to tell him that he's wrong for that? But of course not.
The Jesus
it's all about...
Bible is the greatest book ever written.
Right.
I have a copy. I bring it up in my streams all the time. Like, if I'm ever talking about something, and it's the Jesus Storybook Bible doesn't have everything in it, but, like, if I'm like, what was one? I was talking about Paul one time, like Paul's journey, and, like, there's just this beautiful, simplified version of Paul's life, perfectly explained in the Jesus Storybook Bible, and it's just beautiful. It's like, I don't need the King James version of Acts, 16 through 22 to understand Paul. This, like, simplified explanation of Paul can provide you with exactly what you need and exactly, like, the relevant points of the story, and then your heart is going to do the rest, right? Like, you don't need to see all the right words in the right order. You just need to, like, understand, like, the truth and the love behind it, and your heart will find.
Well, and it's like he said also, if you can't explain it to a child, then it's not true. Like, if it's true, then you should be able to explain it to a child. And that's kind of where this thing comes in with the kid's Bible. It's like they break it down to the most true form to where a kid can understand it. Yeah. And when you start throwing in all this extra verbiage and all these extra concepts and ideas, it's like, hold on, I don't think that was originally... Or remember, we're children of God. We're not philosophers of God. We're not rocket scientists of God, as dumb as that sounds. It's like God wanted to speak to his children. He wanted to make it clear that he doesn't want any confusion. We have our choices to make, and I guess you consider confusion in that part of it, but he wanted to make his word clear to us. And so, I mean, if you can't explain it to a child, or you can't explain it to a kid or someone who's hearing this for the first time, then there's parts of it that can be shaved off to really make it clear to what the message was in the first place.
Yep. Yeah, Paul wrote, I think in Romans, but I think Paul wrote in one of his epistles, like, you see God in his creation.
NASA
you don't need a Bible in your hands to understand God. All you have to do is exist, and, like, your heart has to seek, like what we're saying. Like, all you have to do is be like, man, this is incredible. I wonder who did this. Yeah. Oh, he did this,
Right.
And then you just start inwardly praying. Like, you don't have to sit here and say the Lord's Prayer. You don't need to memorize it. You don't need to replay it. All you need to do is, like, inwardly seek God and, like, have a humbleness, have an obedience in your heart. Like, be seeking him, and he'll show himself. He'll reveal himself to you. And it won't be in the King James Version Bible that
exactly.
you don't have in your hands, It's going to be in God communicating with you in various ways, through his word, his quote unquote word, himself, his presence in various like forms and fashions and ways in your heart at the end of the day, like connecting your soul to him spiritually, not, this precise translation that you have to have in your hands or not.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
another thing in China is like all these Christians are just on fire for God and they don't even have Bibles. So they have these people come, like they basically like pay people or like have people come preach the gospel to them, like basically like summarizing, like give sermons to them, or they'll pay people to like memorize it and then come and like basically repeat as much of it as they can, because the government cracks down on them actually having like translations of the Bible. And then now their government is then basically like rewriting the Bible and basically like taking anything divine out of it and making it basically like a government communist version of the Bible.
So it's like the Book of Satan, more or less.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like that. It reminded me of that like Jeffersonian Bible where like Jefferson rewrote the Bible but took out all the miracles and divine aspects of it and basically it was just like the teachings of Jesus. Similar to that like concept. But these people still like read that and they still find God. They know this isn't the Bible. They know that like their government has edited this. They still can like read it and read through the lines. They still can like read it and like understand like that God is real and I need to connect spiritually with God. Even though this book that I'm reading, this butcher mutilated translation of the Bible, I know it's not complete and correct. They're still reading it and like understanding enough that they can like go home and pray at night and actually communicate with God,
Right.
So there's stuff like that. Like some of these arguments about which translation's right or wrong is kind of silly because you're missing the point here, man. It's all about inwardly connecting with God.
It's just like which religion is right or wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a constant divider.
Yeah.
And I think that's just different translations of the Bible. It's just another version of that.
That being said, the King James Version is the only version. Yeah. But also, everyone out there remember that.
Yeah, somebody said King James Version is the only version. All hail Israel or something along that lines. Hilarious.
I think it's good. I read New King James because I do think like King James is pretty close to the original text. It's just King James is a little old English wordy. Yeah. So I read New King James, which I feel like is like the closest understandable translation to King James. But like we're talking about, like someone was saying like, what do you think about the ESV? I think the ESV is fine. I've heard like other translations that are fine. There's one I like to read that's called The Message, and it's like really not close. It's like a lot of liberties are taken in the Message Bible translation. It's really like paraphrased and some concepts are really changed. But it also is more like poetic. And it is more like it's almost written for like teenagers. It's kind of the vibe I get. It's more like, how do you turn this complex teaching of Jesus, this complex parable, into something that like people can kind of understand in like a poetic, sing-songy way?
Yeah,
so like, I'm not going to read the Message and be like, this is the direct translation word of God. It's the most accurate to the original, because it's totally not. But you can still read the Message translation and like find God. Like if you're actively pursuing it, you're going to find what's right and wrong. The Spirit's going to lead you to what's wrong, what's grabbled, and what's not.
KO said she only talks to burning bushes. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Lighting random bushes on fire and staring at them. Haha.
I don't ever wear shoes because I'm walking on holy ground.
Yeah. Right. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch's Bible. The Bible and Netflix original series. Hilarious.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that. I mean, I know he's making a joke, but I was thinking like Hollywood's never going to do it, but like imagine some kind of series or movie or something, or if someone did like a movie for each book of the Bible, like something that people could watch, because not everyone's about reading the Bible, not everyone's is about reading in general, but if you could have something that could kind of put it out there, especially if you have it where it's family friendly and the kids can see it too. I mean, you have Passion of the Christ, and you have some shows and series that have come out that relate to the Bible or certain parts of the Bible. But if you could really kind of, that's a huge opportunity. I feel like could really reach a lot of people and spread these messages and make it more clear. But then you have to be careful of those being grabbled and make sure the right people are producing it, make sure that they're true to the word, and they're doing it for the right reasons. Chosen. Yeah, that's the name of that one show. I haven't watched that yet, but I've heard great things about it.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one I have, I worked at this 2 years ago during the pandemic nonsense, right? I worked for a big Baptist megachurch, and I was like the maintenance custodian. And so everything's locked down, church is locked down, totally graveled, And they're like spring cleaning. So we're throwing out a bunch of like excess books and DVDs and stuff. And they're like, I'm the guy putting all these books and DVDs into like a thing and taking it out to the trash can. And I just couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't throw these Bibles away. I can't throw these. So I just kind of started collecting all these books I was supposed to be throwing in the trash. And long story short, I got a bunch of DVDs. So there's like a bunch of like the DVDs they were throwing out. And there's some of them, like I have some really good, decent quality, like probably made in like the 90s or early 2000s, like videos of exactly what you're saying. Like there's the Book of Acts. And it's like word for word exactly the Book of Acts, like acted out with a pretty good budget. And it's all the New Testament. But I couldn't find the Old Testament. So now I'm trying to go back and find those, and I can't find the Old Testament versions. But I like where I think their hearts were in the right place, and it was like it really was like it's Peter preaching Acts 2, and it's like it's word for word what Peter said, acted out in glory mode, It's kind of a little cheesy, it's a little like not a Netflix budget show or whatever, but I think that is like a good call and that it's a good idea. Yeah.
I mean, they were making the effort though, and they probably didn't have an infinite budget. They probably making the most out they could. They probably, weren't necessarily the perfect people for the job, but they took up that cross. They took up that opportunity to try and put something out.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, and we're seeing that all throughout the Bear community in several different avenues and aspects. And people just stepping up to the plate, and they're just like, we're gonna need this in our community. Someone's got to do it. I'm going to be that person. And like you said, it takes 5 years to what did you say? 5 years to hone a skill.
Yeah.
So I mean,
let's get on it.
right. I'm still cracking up about KO talking to the shrubbery. The chat's going off about that. So Woodshop said Rebecca Bear stares at the sun and KO stares at bushes. Hilarious.
One thing, quick note about Chosen is I watched, I think, almost all of the episodes. I think I skipped a couple and I didn't finish the very last couple. And I like it. It's good. But you can tell there's like some emotional manipulation. Like I kind of have these red flags to perk up and I'm like, yeah, they're really using music to like set the tone here.
Oh, always.
So there's some of that stuff that's real slight, but I think it's pretty true to the text kind of stuff. But then also I've heard like for warning for like Catholics out there, I guess something about like the way they portrayed Mary is really bad for Catholics. So if you're like a Catholic, don't watch Chosen. It might make you mad.
So who puts that out? I'm assuming it's not Netflix. Is it like an Amazon thing?
No, yeah, I don't know who it is.
Anybody in the chat know where Chosen can be watched?
You can find it on YouTube. I found it on like streaming sites for free.
Okay, nice.
I think it has its like own app, but I think you might have to pay for it a little bit or something.
Woodshop, so they all mask up on set. Unbelievable.
Yikes. There was one really good scene where it was like one of those things where they just filmed like, a 20-minute scene, no cuts, and it's like going back and forth between different conversations, and it's just one giant perfect take. And I remember being blown away by like how good the acting was and like how well it was shot, like the cinematography and everything. I was like, man, this is like pretty good budget, pretty good acting. It's not they're not pulling any punches,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm about to do like a video on this podcast that kind of blew up called like The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. And so it's made by Christianity Today, which is like my new enemy. I hate these people that are calling themselves Christians that are really like deconstructionists or like progressive Christians. And they made this podcast basically just a giant smear hit piece on this like pastor. And I think he did some bad stuff. I think he was kind of like, it's kind of one of those things like he flew too close to the sun. It's like this guy who definitely has talent. He's definitely like leading people to Christ. He's a preacher. He gets it, but he kind of he got a little too popular too quick and became too big and too prideful and arrogant.
Went to his head, yeah.
And there's a downfall, But like at the end of the day, like no one really got hurt, no one got raped, no one. There's really no consequences. But like this company basically made this really high budget, big budget podcast series, like 16 episodes. It's just I'm gonna do a whole video about it, but it's just so nonsensically trying to tear this man down, and it's just so clearly like emotionally manipulative, like basically like one of those like crime murder mystery podcasts where it's like dun dun dun, like ominous music, and they take what he's saying out of context and they're putting like really dark tones behind it when he speaks, So then the next scene is someone talking, like criticizing him, and basically, yeah, he's real mean, and it's like, I'm a victim, and it's like ukulele music and stuff. So just stuff like that I can like hear at this point and just be like, this is like clearly someone trying to manipulate people's emotions. Like they're not.
You take the music away from it, and it gives a whole different story for sure.
And, you just kind of take a step back. You're like, they're really taking this guy out of context. They're really blowing this out of proportion. Like there's a whole episode about Bobby Knight. It has nothing to do with the guy, but they're portraying it like, look at how bad Bobby Knight is. It was just like this guy. It's like, no, it has absolutely nothing to do. It's apples to oranges. Like it has nothing, no relevant correlation to it at all. But when you kind of can like see that, you're like, I don't even know if this is right. This guy might be a jerk. This guy might deserve to be torn down. But like, I can clearly see you're trying to emotionally manipulate people into like agreeing with you and hating this guy. And the reason I bring that up is it's kind of like Chosen. It's like, I think Chosen's good. I kind of like it. It's definitely like well made, but it's clearly like emotionally manipulative. Like they're clearly doing that, like, cut scenes at the right time and music manipulating your feelings and emotions and stuff. So it's kind of one of those things, like, I think it's pretty good. I want it to be good. But
I feel like that's what a lot of TV and these series and like shows have turned into, is just like the suspense, the roller coaster of emotions that you go through. And I feel like even though they try and make a show about Christ and about connecting to the Bible, it's like they still feel like they have to fit that mold of the emotional roller coaster and the grabbing your attention at certain parts and then yanking you around in other parts, and like you said, the scene cuts and the music and all the stuff that kind of, in a way, takes away from the message of the story in the first place.
Yeah. So I get it. That's the nature of the beast, right? That's like what movies are going to do. But sometimes I'd prefer to like just read the Bible instead of have someone like emotionally manipulate me into liking the disciples. It's like, all right, I could kind of appreciate them on my own, thank you.
Yeah.
Those people in the chat that just said like they went to Mars Hill and they know him and stuff, can you guys like DM me and message me about him? Like what you know behind the scenes about that church or what your experience was there?
Moonjazz says he lives near Mars Hill, so he's a
someone said they went twice, and someone says they knew about what he was saying behind the scenes. Hi, King Bear, his backroom talk. So yeah, hit me up if you guys got knowledge or insights about that. Let me know, because I'm kind of investigating the whole thing right now.
The Book of Gary would be a great series. I agree. that really would be a hilarious show. Just like Owen's interpretation of the Book of Gary, and then the different ways he's touched on that. And just making that like a parody of a...
Yeah.
I don't know. Saying you're kind of pushing the line of blasphemous, I guess, to a degree. But I guess if you don't take it that direction, it could be hilarious.
Wasn't there... there was some movie... God, I'm blanking on who the name was. They like made a sort of similar where it's like they think this guy is Jesus, but he's not. And his name is just like Bob or something. I'm blanking on the name of those people that made it.
I'm not sure. Anybody in the chat now?
But it's like they're showing up to his house and being like, "You're the Messiah," and he's like, "Go away!
I'm not your guy." Right?
He's like, "I'm not the guy. Leave me alone." They're like, "Look, he's doing miracles." He's like, "No, I'm just washing my clothes. Get away from me!" Like I think it's like one of those things where it's like, "My name is just Gary, dude. I'm not your guy. Leave me alone."
Right.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Funny concept.
Yeah, the chat's been hilarious tonight. Starring Ben Stiller.
Life of Brian, that's what it was. Yeah, Life
there
of Brian. I'm trying to worship it. Monty Python. Yeah, Monty Python. I haven't seen it, but I've seen like scenes from it, like clips from it. And they're just like trying to worship. And he's like, "Dude, I'm just Brian. Leave me alone. Like, get away from me." Yeah. Yeah, Monty Python. I was blanking on the name of that. Yeah, they're great.
Evan Bruce Almighty was fire. That was a different turn.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think other things I wanted to ask you. One thing I try to ask my guests, and I feel like I've dropped the ball on this last couple episodes, is there any bear businesses that you would like to shout out? Anybody that you've interacted with or you've given business to that you definitely like to share? Kind of put them out there, shout them out.
Not really businesses, but I'm more of like the interviewing people, being on their shows, watching them, that kind of stuff. You guys, I'm always shouting out Hanging with Bears. You guys are awesome. Berserker Bear, Dustin, always blanking on the name of his new channel. It's like Bushwhacking History in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Just always crushing with that. I need to be better about doing the business stuff. There's a lot of bears in East Tennessee, like out by Chattanooga, and it's just like too far away from me. I'm like, move to Nashville, or I'm like, maybe I should move from Nashville out to East Tennessee.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bears homesteading and crushing out there.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. But I need to be better about buying bears, not.
Yeah, that's something I've tried to work on as well. I mean, there's every once in a while I'll like see something like, oh, that's cool, I want to get one. But then it's just like, no, like, there's things that we buy from the store that we could easily replace with supporting a family that's trying to just crush and do their own thing.
I guess the one is I was going to buy a knife from Bladesmith Bear because I want like a really good knife, like pocket knife and stuff. So it's like something like that. It's like I could go buy something cheap from Walmart, or I could like have a bear make me something cool that I'll like have in my pocket forever.
Yeah, certainly.
It's like I might as well do that. I might as well support that guy doing that instead of just save $20 to have something.
Dude, Walmart's the Chinese communist takeover, man.
Yeah,
you don't want to give your dollars to that.
Although I will say I have found in the last few years Publix is my like go-to, and they're a little more expensive, and they're like a big corporation, but Publix never once made me wear a mask. They
That's
never
like
told me to wear a
a
mask.
southern grocery store, right?
Yeah. So it's like a little more expensive. It's almost like sometimes I just go out of my way just to like go there and support them because like during the whole nonsense, like everyone was trying to put a mask on my face, and Publix not once said anything about it. And then I even had a couple employees come up and be like, hey, man, thanks for not wearing a mask. Like, more people need to do this,
Yeah,
like, I have to wear it because I'll get fired if not. But, like, man, I love that you're not doing it. Like, keep it up.
Yeah.
So I just have this thing in my heart for a Publix, even though they are just some big, giant corporation. I'm like, but they still didn't put a mask on my face,
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, the bear community is not at a point where you can get everything you need from a bear. But just supporting people who are on the same path or on the same view on some of these topics, and the last couple of years, people have been making themselves evident what side of that they stand on, and if you can give money to businesses that are sticking their neck out there to go against the grain, then I think that's definitely the move.
Yeah.
Even like you said, even if it is somewhat of a corporation, you're still the people that work there aren't part of that corporation. I mean, they're part of that company, but I mean, they're still trying. They're there to provide for their family. They're not, I mean, they give a fuck about you. They care that you're coming in. They're not going to put you in an uncomfortable situation to just to enforce on you. I mean, they'd rather see you coming back, see you spreading the word about them being good to their customers than Wish I says help me take down Bezos.
Someone said I say like a lot. Tim Pool's beanie. Sorry, I'm from Southern California, so like is like in every one of my sentences, and I've been trying to beat that out of myself, but it's like really hard to do it.
It's all good, man.
From Chicago originally, like good, Southern. Right here, that's what I'm saying. It's good Irish Catholics from Chicago, so is in every sentence. So it's always like,
Oh,
No,
I
I don't
know.
know. You're telling me this for the first time. No,
Right, right.
like this, and then like this, and then like this. So yeah, it's like a constant battle, struggle I've had to like break my habits, and obviously I'm failing. Yeah, I say those two phrases a lot, and it annoys me when I listen to myself back. Like when I re-listen to my streams or something, I'm like, gosh, you gotta cut that out, but you
There it
just
is.
like keep doing it, and like it's
Yep.
hard to break.
Well, that's like filling in your spaces with
Yeah.
It's just something to work through, and you do it subconsciously, you don't catch it. But then there's been times where I'll like go back and replay a stream that I was on, just like I wouldn't stop. Like, even tonight, I've been like touching, like fucking with my beard. It's just out of habit. Sometimes a hair will like curl up in my nose, and it's like it's like I'm picking it and shit. But at the end of the day, if that's what you're focusing on, then you're missing the message completely, and it's all good.
Yeah. I think everyone kind of has that, just where they're from. It's like little things that your little vernacular phrases and speeches, and yeah, it's and like. And California is like, and you have to have the first word in every sentence. So
yeah,
it's like been kind of hard to break all of that now that I'm in Tennessee. That stuff really stands out in conversation.
Yeah. Temple Beanie had a stretched out ego now that he's in a rap song. Hilarious.
Yeah. I wonder what's under that beanie.
A whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's nothing, but it could be something.
Woodshop says he doesn't use fillers. He just pauses like a retard.
Yeah, is that more or less awkward?
Yeah, that's a good question. Star Wars Nerd. Much love, y'all. Later, Wobbly. Have a great night. Thanks for being here. We'll see you later this week. I think she's coming on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Tim Pool's Beanie says he's famous. Fuck you. Wow. You poked a soft spot on the beanie. It's literally just a beanie. I don't even know how it comments on here, but to each its own.
You get a little money from child blood drinker Peter Thiel, and you think you're on the world all of a sudden.
I think the beanie has a handler who comments for it.
Yeah. Peter Thiel bought you, and now all of a sudden you're hot stuff. All right.
Right. Joe Gagan, wonderful conversation. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being here, Gagan.
Yeah. Shout out Joe. Joe was on my live stream number 80. We talked about the Legion of Bears, which, again, shout out to the Legion of Bears. My recruitment month was recruitment 13 in November. And then just last month in January, I did my first veteran challenge. And both times I got nominated to be my region leader, which is kind of cool and kind of honorary. But then the whole point is when your region's messing up, say one of the guys that you're supposed to be keeping in account for, keeping in check, being in charge of, slips up. Not only do they have to do a punishment of push-ups or something, but you have to as well. And
nice.
Boy, oh boy, did my time zone really mess up. I was sick, and every day, I was so frustrating. Come on, guys, I can't do another 200 push-ups today. And then tomorrow it's someone else, and it's I barely wake up and do push-ups. I'm sick and gotta do it, Yeah. But now looking back, it's I went from at the beginning of January, I could barely do 40 push-ups to now I can just do 100 push-ups. So yeah, again, kind of what we were saying earlier, it's that trauma, that pain, that oh God, this is a nightmare. This is horrible. And now it's dope.
Yeah.
My arms are looking pretty good. I'm pretty strong. I'm getting this endurance built up,
Yeah.
So it's you look back and you're kind of grateful that it happened, but in the moment it's just a nightmare,
Oh yeah, 110%.
Yeah. Shout out to the Legion of Bears. And shout out to Joe Gagan, who talked about it with me on my stream. That was awesome.
Yeah, Gagan's a legend.
Yeah. Old Telecaster Bear.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So Crush Fest 2022 in July, are you thinking about coming up? Do you guys have anything going on down there for 4th of July?
Where and when? I might have to. Is that the Indiana?
No, it's in Western Pennsylvania.
Crush. Is that Rhino Bear?
Yeah, Rhino's putting that on. It was at Rhino's place this past year, and I thought about it. This Gagan actually flew out from New Mexico. It was awesome. Got to meet him there, but a ton of bears. And I mean, huge, great turnout, awesome experience. Nothing but fantastic memories all around. And so I feel like this year is going to really spread and be explosive. No pun intended with the fireworks, but I think there's going to be a ton of people there. And a little, slightly, yeah.
God's penis somewhere.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Longbow Bear knows about it. Yeah, it was an awesome time. I feel like there's going to be a big turnout this year, and I'd come, but I've banned too many bears. I'm scared. Yeah, you better be joking, KO. I know you're not scared of nothing. And that's in KO's home state too, so she's got zero excuses this year. I think that she was busy this past year. We're gonna let it slide, but if you're a bear and you live in PA or any state that touches PA, you have zero excuse to not be there this time. I'm even gonna try and drag Woodshop across the country for this one. I doubt he'll do it because he's too busy with his 911 companies and he never gives himself a day off. But
he's too viral on TikTok to be associating with the likes of us. You know?
Is that not the truth? Jesus.
Oh, you only have 1,000 followers on TikTok? Oh, okay.
I just got 500,000 views because my wife is one. See, he's got the wrong idea with the hot chicks on TikTok. His wife is sweating in the screen room. He's like, this is my hot chick. Like, it's 150 degrees in here. And she's sweating her ass off. Yeah. I mean, it's still working. I mean, even though he's got the wrong idea of hot, he's steaming her out of the garage, but it's working. He's getting 500,000 views, so good on you. Yeah, seriously though, if you don't have 4th of July plans, mark that down because it's going to be awesome. I think we had a little over 100 people this past year, and I expect that to double at least. And just the amount of kids was awesome, man. I mean, there's anybody that was there, any idea? I want to say at least 30 kids, and they were all having a blast. We went back for Bears Giving in November, 4 months later, and this little girl, I can't remember her parents' bear name, but they got there and they're like, she was asking about your twins the whole way here if they were going to be here. It's like as soon as they saw each other, and they're like 4 years old, and they were like holding hands and running around like they had just seen each other the day before. 4 months later, and that was only the second time ever they had seen each other. And it's just seeing those bonds form, and the kids like just run around, and my baby's getting passed to other people, and like it's just there's no worry at all. There's no judgment. It's just everybody's having a good time, and it was a blast. I definitely recommend it to anyone who doesn't have 4th of July plans. If you do have 4th of July plans, they're probably going to suck in comparison, but I'm not here to shame anybody's plans.
If you do, cancel them.
That's right. You know what? Yeah, KO Bear said Soul Family. It is. It's like a gigantic family reunion. It was awesome. And even running into people that you've kind of maybe only talked to through Instagram or Bear Target Times app or in the saloon chat or what have you. It's just being able to put faces to these names and shake hands and hug it out and all that. It was an awesome time. And live music going. They had games for the kids. They had food like you wouldn't believe. Everybody brought something. And, I mean, we had food for days. I mean, people taking food away.
Yep.
Old friends for the first time, exactly.
Midwest Bear Meetup was the Indiana one. I'm going to try to go to that one, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got to get – Tennessee Bears, man, we're slacking. I made a group, Tentaria, and we're pretty – we're kind of socially active together, but and Tennessee is just weird if you've never, like, lived here or been here. Like, it's pretty far lengthwise.
Yeah.
So, like, even though, like, yeah, there's a bunch of Tennessee Bears, they're actually, like, 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours away from me. It's almost like sometimes, like, those Indiana Bears are actually closer drive to me than, like, East Tennessee Bears are. And I'm in Nashville.
Yeah.
But not to get too into it, but we had a good thing going because Ohio, Bear Church Bear.
Not to be named
Not
bear.
to be named, was the one kind of organizing and making it work for like the Middle Tennessee Bears. And we all kind of came together, but even that was like Bears coming from not Tennessee, like coming from Mississippi, coming from Alabama, coming down from Kentucky. And so when all of that drama happened, we all just kind of like stopped doing it. And I know there's some East Tennessee meetups, but it's just like a 4 or 5 hour drive for me. So I want to be a little better about Tennessee meetups or whatever, but I'm starting to realize that I need to give up on my state and just see it broadly as just more like, even like going to like the Indiana meetups might be easier, honestly, than like the East Tennessee meetups. And the East people seem to be going to like the Georgia and the Florida meetups and stuff. It's like, we're kind of traitorous in Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, and even if you can only get to 1 or 2 meetups a year because you're having to travel for them, it's like those create relationships that will resonate, and you'll continue on a weekly basis talking to people, and then you'll have people that want to come see you where you necessarily can't travel out to see them, and it's just getting yourself out there is awesome, and being on here and is a great way to get yourself out there. But nothing beats those family reunion feeling of just like being on the same ground, breaking bread with your brothers and sisters, and seeing the next generation run around, being wild, and just kind of sitting back and enjoying the fruits of the labor and everything we put into it.
Yeah. Well, I'll say right now, I'll make a vow to you right now, before you and every other bear, and before God, most importantly, I will be at Crush Fest.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Bring as many Tennessee Bears, North Carolina Bears, whoever, anybody you see on the side of the highway that looks like a bear. Well, I'm gonna backpedal on that one. Anyone who seems like they may be adjacent. But yeah, if they look like an actual grizzly, then probably leave them where they lie.
Sean, that's an actual bear. There's a bear.
Are we not going to Crush Fest?
I don't see what the problem is. Like, this is a bear. That is a black bear. You can't.
Yeah, well, that's off limits.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're bringing race into this all of a sudden. Okay.
Right.
Bowler
will be there. We gave him a hard time about not coming this past year, so I'm hoping he'll be able to make it this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. I think we might have just recruited at least 23 people for Crush Fest.
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be awesome. Sean opens a U-Haul full of bears. Hilarious. That's exactly.
Look who I picked up. That's running.
Yeah! Hilarious. Yeah. Actual racism. How dare you not allow bears? That is a great point, KO. Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to allow actual bears, then what the hell are we even doing?
Yeah.
So I know dog fighting and like cockfighting is frowned upon, but like bear fighting, like where does that fall in the scheme of things? Is that okay? Can we bet on it? Do we just have to watch and cheer them on? Like,
I'd say yeah.
I feel like Gagan's got experience. Gagan, can you leave us any information on this?
I don't know about the
I feel like there's some weird shit going on in Albuquerque. There has to have at least been one bear fight.
You got my stamp of approval. I don't know if it's legal in the state of Pennsylvania, but
I mean, it really comes down to, is it okay under God's law? And I've never seen anything in the Bible against bear fights.
I don't see anything contradictory in it. In fact, God actually sent bears to maul people who offended prophets. So,
it sounds like he's on the it sounds like he's on the bear's side. Now, what you got to watch out is for those moon bears and those Saturn bears. Did you ever see that whitest kids on the the moon bear skit? That was hilarious. I watched that again recently. The Saturn bears. So you're telling me there's not only moon bears but Saturn bears?
Yeah.
We're going to Iran, aren't we? You got me.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Sell your cape and buy claws. Jesus, allegedly. Hilarious. Pakistan fight bears with dogs. Interesting. With dogs? What kind of dogs? Jesus. Pretty sure old Doug Walters can talk to bears. I don't doubt that. There's this dude that I grew up with who was very close to an actual bear and his figure and his stature. He used to play lacrosse, and he was one of our defense guys, and I was always glad he was on our team.
Yeah.
Dreaded going against him in practice, but, it was what it was.
Say practice might not have been too fun.
Well, and he was a year ahead, so he was constantly, picking on me and my buddies. It was like, you guys are below me, you will feel pain. Oh, great. But then you realize that pain is weakness leaving the body, and you grow from it, and, you move on.
Yeah.
I feel like this took a hard turn going from talking about our walk with God to fighting bears.
Yeah.
But I do support the whole conversation.
I think a famous funny story is that a group of kids were basically making fun of, I think it was Elijah's bald head.
Hold on, you got something with your microphone. It sounds like it's sitting in a cup of water or something.
Me?
Yeah. No, the other guy.
No. I don't know what I did or how to undo it. It's still like that.
I don't know. Is anyone else having it might just be my headphones, maybe. I don't know. Is anyone else hearing muffle from Sean?
I don't know how to fix it if not. Yeah, long story short, God sent bears to attack kids who were making fun of one of the prophets.
Kids at that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to assume, bears are a part of God's judgment at times. It's righteous consequences.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely never read any scripture where he's attacking bears, but I do like that he used bears to make things right. I think that's fractal for what we're going through now as well. KO said shake your Ethernet cable a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Ethernet carrier on my case, man. Well, maybe I might have to call tonight, too. Anyways, that might be a good sign to end.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking through your NASA helmet now. Sean, it's been a pleasure, man. We'll definitely do this again. I had a great time. The chat had a great time. Looks like everybody, and we're still up over 20 people in the house. Usually, we're dropping down to around 12 at this hour. So I appreciate everybody who's been hanging out tonight. Sean, thank you again. If you got anything else you want to say to the people before you roll, otherwise we'll catch you soon.
I'll talk through my NASA space helmet. Thank you so much for having me on. Keep crushing. You, everyone, all the Hang On Bears guys, always crushing. Always sending people here to chat. Always crushing. Everyone in here is awesome, amazing. 07s, Bear 7s in the chat. And yeah, I guess if you want to hear me out, hear my ramblings on my own or with other guests and stuff, I have Bears on kind of occasionally, kind of talking about similar things, You can find my live streams and all that stuff at Seanathan Cory on whatever Gravel website you use. Odyssey or YouTube, D-Live, Twitch for the live stuff, BitChute, Gab TV and stuff. But yeah, hit me up. Converse with me in my DMs and chats and stuff. I don't just speak into the microphone and pretend I'm too good to reach out and communicate with people.
Yeah, for sure.
I like to talk about interesting stuff, share some gravy. So yeah, reach out and holler at your boy, I guess.
Oh, now your new name is Sean Bot. KO as coined, uses Sean Bot.
I like it.
Oh, now your audio is back. That's weird. I don't know. Now it
all right,
sounds
good.
fine.
So we have 3 more hours now, I guess.
That's right. Hey, I did promise Bud Bear that I would show this off tonight. He sent me a package the other day, and I'm going to give credit to HWB Bear because he came up with this. But it is NASA the early years. I don't know if you saw that stream, but I like their earlier work. If you know what I mean, before they came to the States.
Yeah, mustache is,
so get your new NASA stickers. Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Got a little itch right there.
Everyone's getting it. The chat's getting it. The chat's loving it. Awesome. Great time.
I'll buy a shirt. If you got a shirt, I'll get one of those, yeah.
Dude, Bud Bear will make whatever you want. He'll put it on a wall thing this big for you. Whatever you want. You can have a car. You can make a car flag for this thing. Yeah, get them on both sides. Oh, man, great times. All right, Sean, I'll let you go, brother. I appreciate you coming in tonight, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. Yeah, this was awesome.
Anytime. We'll definitely have you back.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Have a good
Guys,
night.
thanks for all being here. Everybody have a great night. We'll catch you all soon.